He ended up holding me hostage, burning, hitting. If I had anywhere to go, I had to take pictures every 5 minutes. He would keep me up for days at a time.
Burning you?
Yeah.
What was he burning you with?
Cigarettes.
Holy shit.
It could have gone so much worse. And I had almost escaped at one point, and he pulled me back into the house. The violence just got worse and worse. It was brutal. He twisted my arm behind me, pinned me down so I couldn't yell. And I had been knocked unconscious. I spent 2 years in life or death kind of situations.
Oh, shit.
Yeah.
Kaylee, I am excited for this conversation for a multitude of reasons. Like I'm excited because I saw you standing in some bar on Instagram or TikTok giving some political speech and rah-rah in this crowd. My first comment was, would you take money from AIPAC? And you responded back immediately, America first.
Yes.
That's what started this whole conversation. And then I started digging into you, finding out you're a Democrat.
Yeah.
Running for Congress. I mean, you're running for to get a position here in the state of Idaho. We're going to dig into all that. And I was like, okay, if you would have rewound my political views several years, I'd have been like, ew, immediately. Because that's where our country's been going with these hard lines and everything's divided. And we can't even have conversations anymore with the opposite party. Fast forward to where I am now, I'm fuck the government right down the middle. They're two wings of the same bird. The majority, I'd say all of our politicians are owned, and we're losing huge amounts of trust in our government across all parties right now. And I started digging into you, and I see that you were like a 6th generation Idahoan. Your dad was served as a Marine, National Guard. Your mom ended up like building the home that you're raising your family and everything now here in the foothills. So you're deep rooted. You're not some California transplant that's here trying to make a difference and all this other bullshit that we see. Along with that, you've worked your whole entire life, and you weren't raised in this political environment. You're just like an average person, I would say, and I'm not downplaying that. There's nothing wrong with it. That during COVID, you went back to school and you ended up kind of being groomed in a way to step into this political party because you're a big debate person from back in high school. You give speeches, but that had nothing to do. You weren't chasing like this political path as a young kid, which a lot of them do. They start very early. Their schools are set up. Their colleges are picked for them. They're groomed from very early ages. That didn't happen really until you kind of your older age, and it's probably because how you speak and conduct yourself, and you're kind of different. So the big reason I want to cover today is who you are. I want to give you a platform to be able to talk, because what sparked my interest in you the most is that you're like going to these Republican events or holding these events for Republicans for them to ask you conversation or questions, and you're just answering them honestly, which neither party is doing this hardly anywhere. And so that's where I'm like, oh shit, okay. You're kind of like this shoot from the hip politician working your way up. Your response to me was exactly as an American as I don't want to consider myself a patriot. I serve my country, but I'm just an American first.
Yeah.
That's what I want to see. And so you're a little bit younger. I want to know where the hell you think that we go in this direction as a country, because there's a lot of turmoil, a lot of division. We're seeing crazy shit every day on the news. We're just fed negative bullshit. So I want to know your point of view as a politician and who you are and where you grew up. So that's what we're going to jump into. So that's going to be today's episode. Before we get started, we have our prehistoric loaf that we've done the last like 15 episodes with. She's laughing. So nobody knows. I probably shouldn't even have said that. It's like a prop at this point. But we have a fresh baked loaf of Asiago, garlic, herbs downstairs waiting for you. We started as a homeschool project for our youngest and our kids, and it's turned into actual business now. So we send every guest home with a fresh loaf of bread. And I got a Wild Chaos women's tea for you that we're going to send you home with as a thank you for coming on and giving us the time today to have this conversation. So,
and I have a giant family, so we go through bread like
oh, so do we. We eat a whole loaf for a meal sometimes, and we all sit back and like, oh shit.
No judgment, no guilt.
You'll see how it is when you get it home. All right, let's dive into this. Who are you? Where are you from?
That's a loaded question, especially now. So I'm Kaylee Peterson. I would have 4 years ago just answered, young mom. When I started, my kids were 11 and 6 or 10 and 5.
Okay.
I had gone back to school. It's a long story. I was a stay-at-home mom for many years, foster parent.
Okay.
Like you said, when COVID hit, so much had happened. Our foster son was reunited with his family back in California.
Okay.
And so I decided that I was going to go back to college because I had always really loved public policy growing up. It's something that I always wanted to do and didn't have the opportunity. When I was 18, life didn't go that way. So 2020 hits, COVID hits. I start doing school online at the College of Western Idaho.
Okay.
Originally, I started just majoring in criminal justice. My passion, I wanted to get into criminal justice reform and be like a civilian liaison in how we can streamline and protect law enforcement and community trust and things like that. So then I jumped into college. My very first assignment, my comms professor was like, you should join the debate team. I was like, I had no idea CWI had this great debate team. They were 8-time national champions. They have an amazing speech and debate program.
You did debate in high school, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so you have some background in debate.
It was my life. I was a total debate nerd. Like, you could have found me in the debate room any time of day. It was everything.
What do you like about debate?
I love the public speaking aspect of it, but what I appreciate about it now is you learn these topics inside out. But more importantly, you learn how to manipulate arguments to win and how to spot manipulative arguments. Like, I'm in a debate round, I know when I am manipulating information to win versus when I know that I'm representing this information authentically.
Okay.
And so it's a really great way to kind of understand communication and arguments and how to spot when people are manipulating and how to trust the information and how to vet the information you're getting.
How do you stay calm during a debate when you know it's like when you're set dead, like dying on this hill, I'm debating this topic, and then the other person's just spewing, in your opinion, just lies and bullshit. How do you stay calm during that time?
That's my specialty.
Okay.
It's actually a running joke with my team because I debate the way that I talk to people, which is just very kind, very respectful, very patient. But then logically, I'm known for eviscerating. And when I'm able to stay calm, and I also think my background, I've dealt with a lot of conflict in life. I've dealt with so much that it's easy for me to stay calm, even when people are coming at me really aggressively. And in debate rounds, when somebody's being really aggressive and rude, and that's their style, and then you're reciprocating that with respect and kindness, it makes them look even worse.
When they come in with the bullying side, and they're forcing it, and you're just like, hey, this is everything.
And it's like, I'm sorry if you misunderstood this, but here's A, B, C, and D.
Yep.
It was a running joke. My husband and I met, we've been together 16, I think it's 17 years this year. And when we were dating, he used to go, you have to stop numbering arguments. Because when we disagreed, he was
husband.
like, you can't keep numbering arguments.
How many arguments does your husband actually win? Yeah.
He's perfect for me because he's the most calm, introverted man in the
world.
What
a perfect answer. That is the most perfect. He's perfect for me. Okay.
He's perfect for me. He is my total opposite. Quiet, calm, wonderful. So you can't argue with a man when he's quiet and respectful and introverted.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Childhood. I know we're diving right into college.
Yeah.
What was it like? You're like a 6th generation Idahoan, which is rare these days. I feel like they've either all fled or been washed out.
Yeah.
What's it been like growing up here and then watching it transition to what it is now?
So my childhood was really weird because I was born in Connecticut, but I spent my childhood going back and forth between Eagle, Idaho, and Groton, Connecticut.
Got it.
And so it's strange because I really had a childhood that was rooted in two opposite environments. So in Eagle, growing up there, it was all farmland. I remember I used to hate it because the closest gas station was like a 3.5-mile bike ride, and you went downhill to get there, but then it was all uphill.
Pedal all the way back.
Yeah, all the way back. And I am the only one like me in my family. So the rest of my family, very quiet, engineer, introverted, like old school kind of. My grandparents were Eisenhower kind of Republicans. And So growing up, like I took care of the fences, and it's all family property. My family homesteaded that area.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, my grandparents' house, and then across the street from them was my great grandparents' house that they built in the 40s, and they had passed. And so I helped take care of their gardens and that land and the house. And then, so it's all just kind of family land the whole way down. The street I live on is named after my great grandfather.
Good for you guys. That's really cool.
Yeah. And then, I go to Groton, which is the complete opposite. It's super industrial. It used to be the largest sub base in the world. So big Navy town, right on the river. My mom was single mom, so she worked like 2 to 3 jobs. So we had this tiny, it was just the bottom half of a house.
Okay.
So it was super tiny, lots of bugs. It wasn't a great area down on the river.
Okay.
And I was a latchkey kid. So growing up kind of on the streets, having interesting experiences. It was the 90s. So you could be 8 and 9 and just
be free.
Yeah,
and
wandering
live a life,
around.
for sure.
Yeah.
Now ours goes to the park. We're like,
Oh yeah. My mom, I still don't tell a lot of the stories. There are certain things parents don't need to know.
For sure.
But yeah, I loved it. And I think Connecticut gave me, because you have the Fort Griswold battlefield in Groton, which is Fort Griswold battlefield.
Okay.
So it's from the Revolutionary War, because Benedict Arnold grew up in Groton.
Okay.
And he burned down New London, Connecticut, which is our sister city. So it's just a wealth of like our founding fathers and that history.
Mm-hmm.
Our library was like 250-year-old stone library.
Damn, I bet you that's cool.
Oh, it was incredible. So that was all a part of my childhood, was the country and its founding, and how all these founding fathers created this new democratic experiment.
Mm-hmm.
And then I come to Idaho, and my grandfather specifically, we would walk up and down the fence lines and the cattle would come in, and I grew up learning about what made Idaho special. And there was this sense of community and kindness and respect. And you could meet anybody on the street and immediately make a new friend.
Yep.
There was just a sense of community. Even when people didn't necessarily like each other or
They
agree
supported each other.
They supported each other. If your neighbor needed something, that community was there immediately.
Yeah.
And so growing up there, my neighbors Orville and Catherine grew up with my grandfather, and they were in their 80s. And my cousin Rob, who's actually my third cousin twice removed, he lived on our street. And I grew up with all the same people and that sense of what it meant to be an Idahoan. So I'm really, I consider myself really privileged to have kind of this dual experience. Yeah.
For sure. That's really cool.
Yeah.
'Cause you're getting 2 different worlds.
Yeah. 100%. My kids joke, because when I get upset, I have a Long Island accent. So they joke I'm the only 6th generation Idahoan running for Congress that can bring out a Long Island accent.
With an accent?
Yeah.
With a non-Idaho accent?
Yeah.
That's pretty funny. So, okay, you're growing up in 2 different worlds. When did you transplant here officially?
11. So 2001.
Okay. Yeah. So you grew up here. Okay.
Yeah.
So now you're here. You went through some pretty rough times in relationships and violence and things like that. When did all of that happen? Because you met your husband pretty early, right? Or was that part of with your husband?
No.
I'm not trying to out your guys' shit.
Well, no.
Okay.
It's really strange. I had experiences from 10 to 19 that most people experience in their 20s.
Like what?
So I experienced some violence in my childhood. Okay. My father, like you said, was former Marine, went into the Army National Guard. He did 2 deployments, first in 2003 with Operation Iraqi Freedom. He struggled. He came from generational trauma. He struggled. He had his own things that he was dealing with. So, and then it's complicated because I was always really, really successful academically and professionally. I always spoke this way, even when I was like an 8-year-old kid. I was talking about how the Clinton administration was handling Kosovo. Like that's literally how I got my start. Okay. So then when I'm experiencing all of these things in my personal life, it didn't translate. It wasn't like there were big warning signs when I went to school because I was getting straight A's and I was always the teacher's pet. But then afterwards, and I had a lot of independence. My mom worked 2 to 3 jobs at a time. I got my driver's permit at 14 and a half, my license at 15. I was always working. I nailed nannied. I did landscaping, raking leaves from the time I was like 10, 11, 12.
Our little one, she prints flyers and she has all her regulars and rakes leaves. It's a great thing.
Yeah. But in that independence, and I think also struggling, I hate to put it this way because it sounds flippant, but I definitely had textbook daddy issues. You know, when your dad's not in your life and you struggle with that relationship. And I was weird. I was a weird kid. My nickname was Pugsley. Like I was big. I was awkward.
You're like, I'm trying to bury that one. I'm gonna
yeah. Like I was an odd kid. And so I always kind of stuck out a little bit. And unfortunately, it made me the perfect target for unhealthy older men because you're so mature for your age. You're, girls aren't normally like you. Now, as an adult, you're just like, ugh, disgusting.
That's my fear with her because she conducts herself as such. Like people, I've gone places with her and they're like, oh, you brought your wife. And I'm like, I'm looking at her like, what the fuck's my daughter? But it's by how she conducts herself and talks. And that's a fear of mine. Like older men like that. And like, they don't realize that she's still a teenager. And I'm like, that's a fear. Okay. So I'm tracking.
And I was really, really good at hiding that stuff. My mom, I have an amazing mom. Like my mom is there for me A to Z. I was always incredibly responsible. Me and my mom always had open communication, but still I was really good at just hiding these things. So I experienced violence at 11. I experienced violence at 13, 14 with unhealthy men in my life.
What type of violence?
So 11 or 12, I had an issue during a sleepover at a friend's house. And that was my first experience with boys, like, at all. Okay. And then when I was 13, 14, I got my driver's permit. And then it was, meeting older guys at a bowling alley. Me and my friends used to go play the arcade at the bowling alley. Mm-hmm. And so we got picked up. And so it was dating or seeing. And that, ended up with some violence there. And ironically, I got out of one bad situation and then ended up right in another because there is no healthy man who's seeing a 15-year-old girl. At the time, I was also working. So, I worked at Taco Bell and other places. And I think it was just I wasn't spending time around healthy people. For sure.
Well, and you're also, like you said, the lack of male role model in your family, in your life to be able to tell you, hey,
And you're so insecure and somebody's showing you validation.
For sure.
And ironically, I got out of a really bad situation and I tried going on a normal date with a boy from a well-to-do family in the area and experienced violence in that date. And I was really grateful that I had an amazing SRO at Eagle High School at the time.
What's an SRO?
The school resource officer.
Oh, okay. Yeah, okay.
I had really great mentors in my life, teachers, adults who I think saw a little bit of, they wanted to protect me and they were there for me in such an amazing way. Mm-hmm. And so I went through this situation and that ended up going through the court system.
Oh, was that bad?
It was brutal. And also we've come a long way in society as how to deal with as victims and young women who deal with this kind of violence. At the time, that was not, they did not have the training. So there wasn't the sensitivity and the way to deal with it. And then I met, and then when I was 16, I met a guy who was only 5 years older than me at the time, which was not great. He was 21, I was 15.
What the What's wrong with both of you? No, 20. I hear this stuff like these guys are like, it's so weird to me with a man that wants it. Anyways, yeah.
It should be weird. It's terrible. Like looking back, I'm like, these are horrible men. These are horrible, unhealthy, toxic men who couldn't get a woman their age.
I just look at it like, why the fuck, as a grown-ass man, why am I going to want to deal with a teenager out of all things?
It's the only girls who don't realize that they're unhealthy, that they're bad. Mm-hmm. And at first, he was the kindest I'd ever dealt with. He was so validating. He gifts me. He got me gifts and he took me on dates. And he was, and then it was like a high school PSA for intimate partner violence and domestic violence. It started with jealousy and getting like on the phone all night about how he just loved me so much and he cared about me and he'd never felt like this before. And so it was being up all night. And then it was isolating me from relatives like, oh, how dare they do this to you? And so then you feel... And at the time, it was just so much was happening in life. My mom was seeing somebody, and so I had a stepbrother for the first time, and I was 16. I had just gone through all of these things, and it just spiraled really, really quickly. And that I spent 2 years in life or death kind of situations.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. And it should have stopped earlier. I was actually a month before my 18th birthday.
And the same dude you're going through all this?
Okay. Yeah. And he's technically my ex-husband because we ended up getting married. It's a whole thing. It was a really, really crazy situation.
How old were you when you got married?
I just turned 18. So he made me drop out of Eagle High School. He was jealous that I was spending all these times with high school boys. He didn't like the idea of me being surrounded by people.
He didn't like the idea of his high school girlfriend being in high school?
Yeah. So I feel so guilty. It's one of the things I feel guiltiest about because my mom couldn't understand why I was just failing all of my classes. And it's because my mom wouldn't let me drop out because obviously she's a great mom. So I just stopped going. I started skipping for the first time in my life until I had gotten so many Fs that I wouldn't be able to graduate in time. So then I was allowed to do an online charter school. And so I graduated early doing that and then working full time while also dealing with this very controlling guy in my life.
So he was grooming you the whole entire time?
The whole time. I would wake up at 3 a.m. because all of the family were asleep, and then I would have to be at his house by like 3:30 or 4 in the morning. I mean, I wasn't allowed to leave. If I had anywhere to go, I had to take pictures every 5 minutes. I was experiencing pretty severe violence. If I drank something without asking first, or if I was too friendly, and that was probably the hardest part, is because I'm somebody who gets to know everybody around me. I knew every gas station attendant, and so any kind of friendliness was immediately turned into me disrespecting him. That
huge red flags.
Huge red flags. And then the violence just got worse and worse. And so
is he putting hands on you?
Oh, big time.
Oh, really?
Burning, hitting. He would keep me up for days at a time.
Burning you?
Yeah.
What was he burning you with?
Cigarettes. Yeah. It got extremely bad. And
how close did he live to you?
A month before I turned 18, I moved in with him. I bought him a trailer and we moved in. I bought a trailer cash with the money I was making from the jobs that I had.
This is why it is so important to stay and be a father in your daughter's life.
And validate and just
validate everything.
Validate
be there and listen.
Yes.
Yeah.
And he ended up holding me hostage at one point. Yeah. So it had gotten worse. It had been a few days of just escalation. So I tried to leave and he pulled me back into the house. And so he was hitting me. And this is back when cell phones had buttons. And so I was able to dial 911 in my pocket. And this is actually something when I went back to college, because, memory is a tricky thing. And I think understanding people in psychology, you learn that our memory can be susceptible to interpretation. And
absolutely.
So when I went back to college for criminal justice, I really wanted to get the police reports to see how accurate my memory of the event was. And it was spot on. So the 911 operator, all they could hear were screams. And I remember in that moment, the 911 operator yelling, trying to get somebody to respond. And he heard that. And so he found the phone and he threw it up against the wall and broke it. Well, at the time, they couldn't track it because it was registered to my personal account at my house with my mom. So apparently police responded to my poor mom's house, who they're getting ready. It's like 6 a.m. And the police surround their house, and my mom's just like, what's going on? And they go, we've received this call. This is what's happening. So this whole time I'm back at the house just trying to survive. I had almost escaped at one point, and I had been knocked unconscious. And so I get pulled back into the house. Now, I got very, very lucky because when Boise PD were able to figure out where I was and respond, as soon as they called out police, he let me go. So it could have gone so much worse.
Holy shit.
It could have gone so much worse. And many women in those situations don't get out that easy. They don't give up that easy. He called me every 5 minutes from jail. They weren't able to stop that.
You can't stop an inmate from calling?
Nope. And I ended up, he apologized and said he understood that I would never take him back, but that he didn't think he could become a better person without me. And so
How much time did he get?
None. I called the prosecutor as a 17-year-old girl, and I asked that they take it easy on him because he was going to go to therapy and he was going to. So he got some road cleanup.
Does he still live here locally?
I believe so. I think.
You never had any issues with him afterward, like a stalking or anything?
Well, I moved back in with him after that.
Oh, honey.
So I.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, it's brutal. Like, and
hey, this is young teen. This is part of life. I mean,
and the craziest part is, like, I'm an incredibly smart, even at 17, I could tell you everything about the Bush administration and foreign policy and all of these different things happening around the world. And yet I was so vulnerable in this one place. And that's, so I graduated high school early and I wanted to go to college. And he was all gung-ho. I think that's amazing. So we go have meetings, and it was a for-profit college, which they've taken a lot of flack. And I went and sat down, and at the time, my mom had just gotten remarried. So for the first time ever, my mom had an income, a decent income.
Okay.
So I go to this for-profit school to have an interview with their financial counselor. And he says, well, because your mom's married, they have these two incomes, you will not be eligible for any financial aid. And my abuser is sitting next to me. He looks at him and goes, I don't know, if you guys happen to get married in the next 2 days, though, then we wouldn't have to consider your parents' income, and we would just look at yours, and college would be paid for. And so my abuser looks at me and goes, why wouldn't you want to marry me? And immediately, within 24 hours, we were at the courthouse, and I ended up being married to him. So, yeah, it is wild.
So glad I asked this question.
It's so wild.
This is wild chaos, 100%.
Yeah, it was.
So how did this pan out?
Okay, so this is a story I've never shared publicly, mainly because I didn't think anyone would believe it, because it's wild.
That good, huh?
It's wild. And I don't know, it probably is tied to why I love politics so much in government, but it escalated. It was getting worse and worse and worse. I had tried to escape once. I was pulled through a broken window. Like, he would chase me down the street and pull me back. Like, I was experiencing pretty horrific violence regularly.
So nothing changed?
Nothing changed.
Yeah, it just got worse. Okay.
It got worse and worse. And the only places I was allowed to be were the trailer that we had and his employer, which was a restaurant. A fantastic restaurant. So, I mean, I guess I lucked out there. It was good food. Okay. But so whenever I was tired of being stuck at the trailer, I would go over to the restaurant. I was sitting at the restaurant, and I'm like summer of 18, and I hear this woman talking to a bunch of people at a table about she's the campaign manager for a local Ada County Commissioner campaign. And this is back in 2008. Okay. And she was talking about this commissioner, and he was talking about trying to address substance abuse issues in the valley and new treatment facilities and all of these things, which I didn't hear any other local politicians talking about. And it was a really, really huge issue. And so I looked over at her and was like, that's really exciting. Like, who's this guy, and how can I get involved? How can I help? Mm-hmm. And she was like, we would love to have you volunteer. And I ended up going down to the offices, and this was a Democratic candidate, and a lot of the smaller candidates all pitched in, and they shared a big office together. And I loved the work. And it didn't even matter that I was getting in trouble at home. Like, it didn't even matter that he was calling me all the time. I really loved the work that I was doing. And after a few weeks working as a volunteer for that campaign, I caught the eye of another candidate who needed a campaign manager. And they interviewed and hired me to manage this other candidate's campaign.
Okay.
So at 18, I'm managing a state rep campaign.
Oh, shit.
And I was doing volunteer coordinating and writing all the scripts for doors and phone calls. And
how's homeboy taking all this?
not well. It
Okay.
was not taken well.
Okay.
But I loved it. And I didn't even care. So I got to teach this candidate on public speaking, and I wrote her speeches, and I organized events. And the craziest thing happened because I would organize these events and I'd be like working at BSU and I'd have volunteers, BSU students coming to work for me. And they treated me with so much respect and kindness.
Okay.
And having that experience, I still remember a volunteer brought me a coffee one morning and I almost cried. And I like kept it together because I'm being professional. But it was just such a level of respect and kindness that I hadn't experienced in so
They
long.
got you on a kind of a pedestal because you're the campaign manager. So they're looking at that like authority and respect. And they're
Right.
just college kids trying to get to that level.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, they have no idea that you're got this position because you're dating a dude that's a psycho and wouldn't let you go anywhere besides the restaurant.
Yeah. And I still remember, and I talk a little bit, I cut the bad part out of this story and I share it on the trail, but election night in 2008, they had it at what was the Powerhouse, which is this gorgeous industrial brick event center that used to be downtown.
Okay.
And so I go in and it's packed shoulder to shoulder. It's all of the people who worked for Democrats or volunteered and I still remember when they announced that Obama had won the election, they played the Aquarius song, Let the Sunshine In. And like they released beach balls from the second story and all of these strangers are just holding each other and crying. And it's just so hopeful and amazing. And then I remember going home that night and being pretty seriously injured. And I called my mom 5 days later and asked her to help me get out.
What was a serious injury?
He almost broke my arm.
Real? How?
Pinning me. He had started hitting me and I tried yelling. There was actually a meter guy outside of the trailer and I tried yelling. And so he twisted my arm behind me, pinned me down so I couldn't yell, and almost broke my arm.
Are you doing, excuse me, are you doing this campaign and all this like with black eyes or marks or anything? Or are you getting really good at covering this up?
I only remember having a black eye twice.
Okay.
He broke my glasses once. It was a lot of like slapping and biting and kind of hitting. I don't remember having black eyes very often. Like I didn't have a bruised face. There were only twice. Once I remember I worked at Walgreens. Actually, I'm still friends with the manager at Walgreens that called me out on my excuse for the black eye. Yeah. I had the black eye and I had broken glasses. And so I told him that something I'd run out in the street and I'd had to slam on my brakes really hard. And I had just hit my face on the car. And he just looked at me and goes, I know you're lying. Like,
good for him.
He was like, you got to get out of there. Actually, we're still friends now.
Good
yeah.
for him.
Yeah. But yeah, no, there were marks actually 5 days later. I remember because I was working part-time at a kiosk in the mall and one of my friends that also worked in the center with me, she noticed it when I lifted up my sleeve. And so, yeah, that 5 days later, I called my mom and I said, I need to get out. And so her and my stepdad came and got me out. And
how did that end? If this dude's that crazy, he's not just letting you walk.
I got really lucky. He took almost everything. So actually my grandmother and my grandfather both passed within 6 months. And my grandmother had left me $10,000 to go to college and he had drained that. He had paid off all of his debt.
Of course.
I left with my car, my laptop, and some clothes, and I lost everything else. Keep in mind, I was paying for everything. I had bought the trailer in his name because I was a child. So lost a couple of family heirlooms. I was terrified, obviously. And this is actually another big part of my life not a lot of people know about because I drink Diet Pepsi like it's going out of style. Okay. It's all I drink.
Okay.
And I get such a hard time for it. I still remember, because when I was in this situation, I remember getting one without asking and being pretty severely punished for that. And so when I left him, That night, I stopped at my local gas station and I got like a 44-ounce Diet Pepsi. And I don't know, it just stuck. Like I just kept drinking Diet Pepsi. And the more somebody was like, you shouldn't drink that much soda, I was like, well, I can. Like,
Yeah.
like, this
Free
is
now.
mine. Yeah.
Yeah.
And life was pretty chaotic because remember, like I had all these incredible experiences. I actually had job offers lined up. And then right after this campaign, I basically go into hiding. And I'm experiencing pretty severe PTSD.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't sleep. I was sleeping maybe 45 minutes every few days. I was moving every like 6 months, 3 to 6 months. So I was just constantly moving. I went from holding 2 or 3 jobs at a time to kind of sporadically working different places, trying to keep up with my bills.
Damn, he wrecked your world.
He wrecked my world. And so then a lot of times now as an adult, people are like, well, if you were so successful and doing all of these things at a young age, like what changed? And this is that kind of catalyst.
The aha, like
this is where, yeah, this is why I didn't go to a university. This is why I didn't get a great job offer after the state rep campaign. And kind of jumping back and forth, I wasn't in a great place. That was a mess. I was 18. And I had some friends who organized little poker games. And I would go there because I was an insomniac. I couldn't sleep.
Oh, shit.
And I was at a poker game. And I met this 6'6" giant, gentle giant, Trevor, and had a huge crush on him almost immediately. And we would play poker games together every once in a while. And
Your husband's 6'6", huh?
6'5". He says he's 6'4", but he's taller than our friends who are 6'4". So he's 6'5", 6'6". Yeah,
You're it's like my wife and I like.
I'm 5'3". I wear heels on the campaign trail, so I'm taller.
She says 5'1.5" because the half matches or matters when you're that short. But yeah, it's like it's a giant man. You're not a tall woman like that.
Yeah, no, he was huge. And keep in mind, I'm still technically married at this point because I was terrified. I wasn't going to deliver papers or.
Fuck, no, you're not going anywhere near that, dude.
No, I'm not doing a divorce.
In your mind, you're like, well, does this just go away? Like, if I wait long enough, does he just?
And my family was panicking. They're like, if something happens to you, he's still legally like, you need to get this taken care of.
For sure.
And I still remember Trevor was just everything that I'd ever needed. He was so I've still 17 years, I've maybe heard him raise his voice twice. That man has never said a cruel word about a single person in his life.
So you went polar opposites.
I went polar opposites.
Damn, good for you.
And
at least it stuck.
Yeah, it stuck, and I'm really grateful. He was older than me, but at the same time, he hadn't really ever had a relationship. And I was like, I'm younger than him, but I just got out of a marriage.
Listen to what I bring to the relationship. Yeah.
And I lucked out. I mean, he comes from the sweetest family in the world, and he is the sweetest man in the world. And we were both a mess, but I also recognized he really wanted to be he wanted to be the best version of himself and do as much good as he could in the quietest way possible. Yep. And I had so much respect for that. So we were on and off for about a year being, young and stupid. And then we both started doing Bible studies together. And I think we really committed when I was like 19, 20. And we've been together ever since. And, you guys. We've just constantly pushed each other to be better and healthier. And I had my daughter when I was 21. I was a baby. We had like 2 nickels to rub together. We actually our house got robbed. Or burgled. I forget which is the right term. Somebody came in and stole all the cash and laptops and stuff that we had in the house.
You got robbed. Yeah, I guess robbery. It's burglary.
Yeah, burglary. Because robbed is when you have it and they take it from your. Yeah. No, so like we got burgled, and they took our deposit for our apartment.
Oh.
And my mom had just gone through a divorce, and she was struggling because he had left her with all of his debt. So me and my husband moved in with my mom. We helped her take care of bills, and she helped us become parents for the first time. And
that's the perfect scenario. I absolutely hate this go start your own life mentality in America that we have, because I've been able to travel the world and see cultures and really like embed myself in cultures, which one of my favorite things. But you come to the States and you're like, all right, 18, college, good luck, go start your own life. And now it's like more bills you're creating for the government, more rent, and you're just falling into like the government plan of just divide and conquer these families.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, why? Like we have a rule in our house: you never have to leave. ever, you need to contribute to the home. You will work and you're going to provide here and help. But it doesn't make sense to me that you just shove these kids off, go start a new life, go do this. And then it's like, why can't you build this all under one home? Like I sold a home years ago and it was 3 generations of like Indians from Sri Lanka. It was the grandparents, the parents, and then their children. And they all lived under one roof. They all worked. They all provided to the family. But here in the U.S., it's like, oh, 18, I could get gone, start a new life. You're out of here. But instead, it's like, man, why don't you build something that you can all, at least on one property, where everybody's contributing to one? That's the perfect scenario.
And you get the money. Then all of a sudden, you have this extra cash to go on vacations or travel or do something that you love in life instead of
grandparent. I want my grandkids. Like I'm already. My wife and I talk about all the time. I shouldn't even put it out in the fucking air because we are years away from this. But years away from this. But yeah, man, I would love my grandkids to be home. Like I get them every day. I don't know. I
just felt so lucky. Like I really cannot say enough good things about my mom because I look at where she is and she's one of the hardest working people. I mean, this is somebody who knows she's probably the most detail oriented, efficient person I've ever met in my life. And we come from a family where you are judged on your work ethic. Yeah. It is that hustle and grind culture. Like you should always be there first, work the hardest, stay the longest.
Life, yeah.
Yeah. Ranch. Yeah. And now as a 35-year-old mom with a 13-year-old daughter and an 8-year-old son, I realized how much my mom sacrificed.
For sure.
I mean, she was working 2 to 3 jobs so she could afford to send me to baseball camp and the Shakespeare Festival.
And you never knew about
and debate tournaments. And I mean, now even I look at how hard she had to work to put the money aside to build the house that then I went to high school in and now I raise my kids in. Mm-hmm. And I am just so grateful. I wouldn't be able to take on something like my congressional campaign now if it hadn't been for how much my mom had worked to provide this kind of life and stability for me. Yeah.
Good for her.
So then, my husband was a mover at the time. He's built up his reputation in his business and now he has a moving company and we just built our life up. But still at the time when we had my daughter, I was 21.
Yep.
We couldn't afford childcare. Childcare was outrageously expensive. And I was like, any job I can get right now, it would basically just be enough to pay for childcare.
That's how so many people live.
Yeah. It's crazy.
We live like it. And I went to my wife and I'm like, we weren't even married. And I'm like, what do you do? Come work for me. Like, stay at home.
Yeah.
And that's one of the greatest gifts she'll say that I've ever given her was the ability to be able to stay home for our second one and raise for the first like 2 years. And then she ended up coming to work for me. But I'm like, I'm like, daycare and you're bringing home this much? I'm like, you're making like $200 like after everything's paid off for daycare. I'm like, this doesn't make any sense. Like you're not contributing anything. I'm like, this is pointless. Spend the time with your kids.
Yeah. And that's what it was. And it was so weird for me because I had never considered being a stay-at-home mom ever in my life.
Greatest job on the planet. I as a man on the outside looking in, and I know women have their fucking opinions, I think that would be the greatest job, to be able to be home and raise your children.
I'm grateful for both. I think there was a piece of me never having that traditional family life.
Yep.
So me and my husband trying to have to figure it out for ourselves. And also I think when you're 21 and you're married and you're having a child and we're part of this church community and trying to fit what I thought was right. And I'm grateful that I had that time. And I'm grateful, like our foster son, best thing that ever happened to us. My son, best thing, like being able to spend that first 8 to 10 years with my family was everything. Yep. But I'm grateful that as I got older and realized how wonderful our family dynamic was and how incredible, like I am just in awe of how amazing my kid's dad is. Like the fact that they get my husband Trevor growing up is just like the best thing I could have ever given them. Awesome. But then also I was like, wait, we can do family our way. And I was like, I don't have to be, I'm a terrible cook. I am a horrible cook. Yeah. I think
that's the East Coast.
Oh yeah. No, I am. I can make a mean steak and potatoes, and that's like about it. That's it.
That's all that matters. That's all that matters.
Yeah, I can grill a steak and I can make a mean red potato, but. So, as we got older and then obviously COVID happened, I had lost my best friend to breast cancer just before the COVID lockdown. Okay. And then that was right around the same time our foster son was reunited with his family, which is a beautiful thing, but also a really, really hard thing to have this incredible part of your family that's then not there.
How can we go into a little? I know there's things on fostering and I don't need to get into detail, but I give foster parents so much credit because it's a wild world. Is it?
Yeah.
How long did you foster for this one child?
So we weren't a generic. We kind of got thrown into it because
Okay.
this is a child that was kind of part of our family. A friend of my daughter's.
Okay.
A relative introduced us to his father. He was 8. He had a much older dad.
Okay.
And I got a call. He had been a part of our family for about 1.5 to 2 years, on and off. We took him everywhere with us. He did sleepovers, big part of the family. And then I got a call that he had gotten taken into care. So I got a phone
hell
call.
no.
And his mom at the time was in Mexico. And so I got a hold of her and asked her to give the Department of Health and Welfare permission to list us as a fictive kin placement. So we're not technically relatives, so we have to go through the foster parent process, but it does give us a little bit more of a streamlined ability. So I found out at 9 p.m. on a Sunday that he was in care. As soon as DHS opened in the morning, is it DHW in Idaho? I forget what it's called, but I called as soon as they opened, asked what it would take. I had to turn our storage room into a child's bedroom and get our house study ready in 4 hours.
No shit.
I was calling people. I was like, can you get a twin mattress here? Can you, I was setting up a bedroom. We were getting the whole house ready, and he was with us by 5 p.m. Monday night.
Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you.
It was best thing we ever did.
That's
and
incredible.
It's the hardest thing you'll ever do. I mean, you have a child who's gone through a really, really difficult thing, and children that comes out in behaviors. And you're dealing with children in their most vulnerable time, and children lash out. And so, best thing that I've ever done. He's still my little man. Actually, I just saw him. He's like, I call him my little man. He's like a teenager with a mustache now. I'm like, okay,
man.
yeah.
So he's doing good?
He's doing great.
Good for you guys. I
Amazing.
love that. I would like to do it once our youngest is a little bit older because, like you said, they bring a lot. So I'm not saying him, but the kids in the system they have seen and gone through it all, and you bring that into your home, and if you bring that into your home with littles, that can transfer over. And the abuse, hurt kids or hurt people, and they just don't know because they've been.
That's what they know.
That's their life, and so then they get to your home. So yeah, I think there'd be a time where we go through maybe that little phase. I just want to help, man. There's so many kids, and they just need something. They just need, and it's like, if we have the means and the ability, and life doesn't suck. I mean, fuck, let's help a kid when you can. That's how I look at it. I commend it. Props to you guys for doing that. That's awesome.
Best thing I ever did. Actually, it's one of my favorite. It's the only moment on the campaign trail that I couldn't hold it and I cried. I work with all different people all up and down the state, and I work really closely with our firefighters. Mm-hmm. And I had held a campaign launch in Lewiston at a casino. So we invited everybody across the state. We had free food and drinks, and we all got together and had a bunch of time. And one of the firefighters I work closely with, he drove all the way up. He's from my area. He drove all the way up with his wife, and we all got drinks after the launch was over. And he goes, wait, it's so-and-so kid that got dropped like da-da-da-da-da, and explains the circumstances. I was like, yeah. He goes, I'm the firefighter who took him in. And I realized this firefighter that I work every day, like super close with, that I work daily on the campaign with, is the one who rescued my foster son.
Really?
Yeah. Only moment that's broken me on the campaign trail.
No
I can keep my emotions in check. I had to run to the restroom real quick, and just the way the universe works.
That's
man.
cool.
It was amazing.
That is really cool. Okay, so now we've gotten to know a little bit about you. I guess let's dive into the weeds.
Yes. Let's do it.
You being a Democrat in my house. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. What? Okay, so you got a little bit of experience on the campaign, being a campaign manager back during the Obama, you said 08, Obama times. So you got a little taste. You got away from it because obviously life experience took you
way off. Yeah.
way off path. When did you correct paths? When COVID hits, you go back to school for criminal justice. This is when I hate using the word groomed because there's such a negative.
Well, and I wasn't.
Okay. Oh, so you weren't.
I was not.
Okay.
It happened overnight. So what happened is I started college for
Okay.
criminal justice. Then they immediately recruited me into the speech and debate team.
Who's they? The school?
So when I say they, the communications director was like, you got to go talk to the speech and debate team.
Okay.
And I was like, okay. So then I joined the speech and debate team. And then I remember how much I love all public policy. And I realized, why am I narrowing my field to criminal justice when really I just want to get involved in policy again? So then I added on my second major, political science. So now I'm double majoring for 2 associates in criminal justice and political science. I'm the president of the speech and debate team, and this is about a year in. So a year into college, I'm the chief of staff of the student body government.
Jeez, okay.
And when I took on the political science degree, I said I should get a feel for what's going on locally again.
Okay.
So I joined some local political Facebook groups. And one of them was a group about this was way back in the day. So it would have been the Biden-Harris election, maybe.
Okay.
So I'm in this Facebook group. And it was, I can't remember specifically. It was either 1 week or 1 month of me being a part of this Facebook group.
Mm-hmm.
I get a Facebook post on the group, not to me specifically, saying that we're a couple weeks out from the filing deadline. We desperately need candidates who are willing to put their name on the ballot because we can't find anybody to run in these races. And at the time, it was it was Secretary of State, it was education, it was lieutenant governor, and then it was...
So these are big positions.
And then, it was the congressional races.
Okay.
And the reason is because there was no money in it. There was almost no Democratic Party, most of my district.
Okay.
There was no money in the race. The DNC doesn't pay any attention. It's literally you're on your own.
Especially out here.
Okay. And I was
in a hardcore Republican state.
We are one of the reddest states in the country.
Yeah, besides like Oklahoma or some shit.
Yeah, we are, I think, like the 30th reddest district. And we're talking about hundreds and hundreds of districts.
Yes.
And we're a gigantic rural district. So we're one of the biggest districts space-wise. So my district goes from the Canadian border down to the Nevada border. So it's 500 miles.
What?
It's all of north and central Idaho, and then the southwest strip all the way down to the Nevada border. So all of Owyhee County.
Yeah.
And then Ada County is the only one that's split.
So you do all north and you do the Idaho-Oregon border.
Yes.
How far east do you go?
So Eagle Road. Ada County is the only one that's split. And the way I like to say is if there are Democrats in your neighborhood, it is not my district. So I'm Meridian, Kuna, Eagle, Star.
Gross. You're taking this on?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're like the giant slayer in a way. Okay. You have everything going against you. So Eagle Road West.
West is all me. Cannon County. None of Boise.
Shit.
Literally like the reddest place in the country. And we are actually now the biggest district by population in the country. We have more people in this district than any other district in the world, in the country.
Oh, shit.
Because back in 2020, we were this close to having a third district, but we were like 10,000 people short. And then you think about how many people have come to the state in the last 10 years, and we had this massive explosion of growth. Yeah. So now I think we're at like 1.3 million. We are the biggest in the country for population.
So I guess you'd have to show me on a map. Does it divide central Idaho, or is it
all
comes
of
and then
central.
it just... So you do northern Idaho, central Idaho, then it pinches to the Oregon border?
Yes.
Okay.
So like all of Idaho County is me. All of Boise County is me. Valley County, Washington, Payette, Lewis. And then Ada County is the only one that's split. So Eagle Road East. But then all of Owyhee County is me.
Damn.
It's
Okay. So you have no funding.
No funding.
You have no campaign party-ish.
No.
So you're doing this on your own.
I didn't even think they were going to ask me to do this. So I respond to a Facebook post and I said, I can put my name on a ballot. I said, I can help. I'm going back to school for this. I can at least put my name down on the ballot so you have a placeholder. And they're like, okay, we are going to interview you. And I was like, ooh, like, when you watch political movies and they're like, any skeletons in your closet? Yeah. I was like, ooh, I'm going to get to... It was a 2-hour phone call, and she delved into everything.
Like what?
Just, Do you have
Is this where they're trying to find skeletons?
This is the first time the person who posted, who former U.S. attorney, very involved in the party, long history. The party had reached out to her to ask the group to find candidates.
Okay.
And since she has such a long history and is such a professional, she was interviewing to see who the best candidates would be.
Got it.
I'm like, there's no way they're going to ask me to run for. I thought that they were going to have me be a placeholder and just use my name, like on the Secretary of State, until they could find somebody else. So she's talking to me, and I'm thinking, with my history, they're never going to ask me to run for office. You know, I'm a low-income, like, working-class mom. You know, I don't have any criminal record, but, like, I also I'm not independently wealthy. I don't have a fancy resume. I didn't go to, like, an Ivy League school. I'm going to a community college.
You have not prepped your life for this position either, which a lot do.
And we were on the phone for, like, 2 hours. And they were like, okay, we're going to have you go talk to the executive director of the Democratic Party and then a former congressperson from this district and get their opinions. So then I met with the former congress. And I remember at the time I'm a college student. So I had always been really careful. I'm an older student. So to be really respectful, I call all my professors, like, I always use their last name and Mr. and Mrs. So I'm meeting this congressman and I'm calling Mr., you know, so-and-so. He's like, you can call me by my first name. And I was like, oh yeah, I forgot I'm an adult. Like,
right.
And I was joking with my husband the whole time because we're having a really big conversation about this. Like, I'd been a stay-at-home mom. I just gone back to college. I was like, hey, like, if I do this, like, if they ask me to be a placeholder, like, where are we at? Because I'm not going to say okay and then have you decide this isn't what you want or this is too much. So we had a really big conversation about, and we used to laugh and be like, there's no way. Like, can you imagine if they actually asked me to run for Congress? And we would laugh about it because I didn't think it was even a possibility.
This is the best.
And then I'm at this meeting and he's like, all right, well, we'll get your filing paperwork in for so-and-so. And I was like, oh, what do you want me to do? And he was like, oh, we're going to have you run as a candidate for Congress in the 1st congressional district.
What's going through your mind at this point?
I was baffled. And they had asked me if you could run any race. If, like, nothing was an obstacle, if you could run any race, what would you do? And I did say I would get my opponent out of office. Like, that was my, like, if I could do anything in the world to make it better, like, that's what I said.
Okay.
So I was just dumbfounded. I called my husband. I was like, sweetheart, you're never going to believe what they asked me to do. And I just felt lucky. Because for me, I mean, I love good government. I love politics. Like, I have Kennedy and political history and memorabilia, and I collect all of. I love this stuff.
So you're pretty excited for this.
I feel like I'm the luckiest. I just feel like it's such a privilege, and oh my goodness, this platform and the opportunity to try and do this, and the trust that they were putting in me, and that's where it all started. So yeah, there was no grooming. It was literally like a Facebook post, and then a week later they were like, here you go, and you're off. Yeah.
So then you're just off to the races? I mean, okay, so you're processing this. You go home, you're like, holy shit, hun, I'm on the ballot. Like, this is, like, what do we do next? I mean, are you now preparing? Are you getting things ready? Or are you just like, okay, we just got to take this step by step? I mean, once you get selected and you got from a Facebook post to get put on a registry for...
Yeah, now I'm a labeled Democrat in the state of Idaho.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Did you grow up Democrat, Republican? I mean, where did you take the path? Because obviously, you know, you're representing the Democratic Party here in the most red zone in the United States. What was your path? Was this your mom? Was this a Northeastern raising, or was this an Idaho? Because if you got grandparents that are deep rooted here, I'd say they're probably not the Democratic side.
No, I don't, like I said, I'm the only one like me in my family.
Okay.
My mom wasn't political. My grandfather was very like Eisenhower, Reagan kind of, but also we don't talk about politics in Idaho, like that kind of Idaho family. My dad was a Trumper. My dad was like, burn the system down, you know, that kind of veteran. And I married into a very evangelical Christian. Like, they are extremely conservative evangelical Christian, right?
For sure.
So I don't really know where it came from. I just, for me, and I get asked a lot because I was an unknown. I was not a public figure. I wasn't even on social media that much. I could have just run as a Republican.
Yeah.
There was nothing that made me run as a Dem. But for me, when I look at the policy platform and when I look at the specifics, like Idaho, because we are such a red state, that means there is a lot of money behind conservative politics in the state of Idaho. We've had a supermajority for almost 3 decades.
Okay.
Whereas the Democratic Party, it's just a bunch of old school Idahoans who also call themselves a Democrat. And I looked at their policy platform, and it was very labor friendly, small business family, very much about kind of limiting government overreach. It kind of followed the economic policy that I supported.
You say all that, but I feel like that's a republic. I would support that. That's how I want to support small businesses. I want I'm not trying to turn this into Micron Central and Meta and all the other bullshit that's moving here now. So that's you lean more toward that's a Republican side of things?
It just depends. Okay. And this is what I've learned, because this is the truth.
This is what's so confusing about politics to me, is because like that statement there, if you would not have put a title on, be like, oh, Republic, that would have been that's a Republican voting. I would vote that.
Every person that I've met across the state who meets me in person, it's a running joke, because the Republicans that actually get to talk to me, they're like, you sound like a Republican.
Yeah, well, that's the whole interest of why I even reached out, because I'm like, this is interesting, because I don't support any party now, but if this is what you're leaning toward, I'm like, okay, like this is...
Here's the truth.
What you're preaching does not make sense to me.
Yeah.
Coming from you being a Democrat, if you would reverse, I'd be like, oh, dude, she's great. Yeah. Which I'm not saying you're not.
No.
But I'm just saying, with the title, it's confusing because I feel you have Democratic or Republican values of what you want to preserve, but you have the Democratic title, which is confusing.
Here's the truth. The corruption and problem in government isn't partisan. It's all of it. And it is whatever party is successful, all of the sudden gets a ton of money backing it.
Yes.
So in Idaho, the Republican Party is the one that has all of the dark money coming from out of state, and it's not lucrative to be a Democrat. So the Democratic candidates you're getting in Idaho have no financial background. They're often just locals who are trying to do their best. But in like California, it's funny, the ranked choice voting that went across the state, and there was a big campaign, Don't Californicate Idaho, because of this. The funny thing is California and Newsom were against ranked choice voting because it targets whatever supermajority is in the state. So whatever party is... So here's the truth. It doesn't really matter what party someone says they are. It doesn't really matter how they label themselves or whatever we hear on social media. I know Republicans that are fantastic, amazing candidates who would do great things for the state, and I know Democrats who are fantastic, good candidates. We have got to just start looking at the individuals.
And who supports them? Who
supports them? Where is their money coming from? How transparent are they with their campaign finances? What are they supporting? And that's where I was like, okay, I can come in, and my speech and debate background. Also, like, I have dealt with so much worse in my life than having someone angry about politics talk to me in a loud voice. Like,
yeah,
you know
right?
what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I've gotten the, unaliving threats. I've gotten all of this stuff, and I realized my background's put me in a perfect position to deal with this.
You're like, bitch, please.
Yeah,
you know what I've been through before I was 20?
Yeah.
Like, this old farmer is pissed off because I have a Democrat on my title. He's all you're like, honey, come on.
Yeah. And for me, I am really, really grateful for the opportunity that I've had, because when I started this, the DNC I've never spoken to the DNC.
Okay.
Like, I have no connection. So when I started the campaign, it was me, and thank goodness I drive a Toyota hybrid because I get great gas mileage. So it was just me in my car that I called Betty White, going up and down the district, meeting local communities, talking to local voters, understanding what was happening, understanding what our current congressional delegation was doing, what they needed, what the information was.
That's insane to me when you say you're just driving. When people are listening and you're like, oh, I'm driving around my district, that's 10-12 hour drive from one end to the other straight without stop. Yeah. If you're going from Arizona border to Coeur d'Alene,
yeah,
I mean, we're 8 hours from here from Coeur d'Alene, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
9-10 hours. I actually just recently hit 100,000 miles in the last 4 years. So in 4 years, I've driven 100,000 miles around the state.
Just campaigning.
And
what's the point? If I guess we could probably get in this later, but like you're doing all this and you're trying to make a difference. If the Republicans are just getting funded everything, is there hope? Is there, this is just wired in you? I mean, like, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but like you're fighting Goliath.
Yeah.
Which I'm all about. I should have worn a David and Goliath hoodie. I actually took it off right before you got here. This is like, what's the driving factor for you to put 100,000 miles on in a couple of years and you're driving 10, 12 hours for just one end to the other end of your district? I mean, you're covering the whole state besides Eastern Idaho.
Yeah. And I go to Eastern Idaho all the time to talk to local groups and help them recruit and host events.
So you're everywhere.
It's almost kismet. I love the work.
Okay.
And that's part of it.
Okay.
Is I literally am doing something that I never in a million years dreamed I'd have the opportunity to do.
Mm-hmm.
This was something I still remember being like a young child, like 11 or 12, and wanting to go to Yale and like wanting to do all of these great things. And then when that is taken and you're just living your normal life, and then all of a sudden this opportunity comes up and you realize, one, it's something I'm good at. I am good at communicating with people no matter where they are.
Yep.
And I'm such a policy nerd that I'm actually trying to find solutions. So it's not just about talking pretty and getting people to the table, but it's actually, okay, I know what legislative solutions Idaho needs to make the life better of the people here in this state. So I love it. I can do it. And then also realizing no one else is going to. Like we're never going to get anything done in 2 years. We're never going to get anything done in 4 years. This is a long-term, big picture trying to improve things. Mm-hmm. And I also know I don't care about the Democratic, Republican, Independent, Libertarian, unaffiliate. Like, I just don't care about the labels. I just want to find how we elect better people and get this policy. Do
you have to take Democrat or Republican? Do you have to pick one or the other party to even be taken serious? Because I feel like if you're independent, all the other little ones, you're immediately just, you don't even matter. Like the fact that those even parties, we're a 2-party system. Any independent, you're not getting anywhere. Is that help with aside? Because I feel you probably be great at independent because you're, from what I've gathered and watched and how your speeches go, you're just for the people.
Right.
Which I guess a lot of politicians say. So that's kind of a abused term in your world.
Oh yeah.
But I mean, you're preaching and you're putting it out on the internet. You put it on the internet. It's not going away. And that's why I commented, because you put it out there. I'm like, all right, we're going to talk about it. So are you forced to pick a party?
Until we actually do something to change our election process, a third party candidate is almost impossible to win. And that doesn't mean it is impossible. If you have a candidate with the right connections and with the right funding, they could win. And Idaho is probably one of the rare states that they could be successful. Okay. But there is other aspects of this. One, I am not independently wealthy. I had none of my own money to put into this race. Yep. Most candidates we see nowadays, actually, here's a fun statistic. Less than 2% of elected officials come from a working class background.
What?
2%.
Where do the rest come from? Trust fund kids?
Independently wealthy. Yeah. They come from wealth or independently wealthy. Less than 2%.
Holy shit.
So the problems in America aren't right or left. It's just people who have never had to actually live paycheck to paycheck or worry about covering the mortgage.
So you're saying the people that are dictating this country and making the rules and running everything have never struggled.
Right.
They're all rich kids or have rich funding.
Yes.
That makes sense to me.
It makes total sense. And
less than 2% come from normal.
Less than 2% have a working class background, which is another reason why this has just become like a mission for me, because I am really, really privileged. And one, I love the work, but also my husband is a saint. Like, I really cannot say enough good things. My husband works like 6 or 7 days a week. And then when I'm on the campaign trail, he's also taking care of the kids and cooking all the dinners. And somehow this ended up working out really well. I am happy. I love the work that I do. Good. And so I was really worried about being away from home more. But when I'm in town, I get to be with my kids all the time. And also I feel like I've just become the best version of myself because I really love what I'm doing. Yeah. And also I'm trying to make this country a better place for my kids to grow up in. So it just happened that it worked out. My marriage has never been better. My husband really loves me, seeing me be the best version of myself. And so all of that, plus I have affordable housing. Like, we were able to take over the mortgage on my mom's house, so we don't deal with artificially increased rent prices like most working class families. We don't have a fixed rate mortgage that we're just constantly trying to keep up with, because I get to live in the house that my mom built and just cover the mortgage. And, you know, we just had a pressure tank we had to replace and stuff like that. But I have the privilege of being a working class mom who can do this. Damn, there are very few people who could just give 6 years of their life to something. So. Yeah,
that's got to be, I mean, you're committed.
Yeah.
Because once the ball starts going, I mean, now you're competing. Now you got your opponent, which he's out, or he, she, whatever, doing the same shit. So, okay, so are you trying to your district's huge. You say everything goes, you're representing this district. Everything goes well. What is the role? Like, what is your goal? Being a Democrat, let's say everything, you crush it. By the way you speak, you're covering for the people, even though you hold a title, which sucks.
Yeah.
What's your end goal with running this? I mean, how do you make a difference here in Idaho?
I think when I started in 2022, I recognized really quickly that there was so much work that needed to be done, even outside of actually getting elected to Congress. Okay. And that the platform that I have as a congressional candidate gives me an opportunity to do a lot more than just run. So for me, it was like, okay, this is my congressional district. This is the platform and policy and my outreach to voters that I need to try and represent these people back in DC. But at the same time, there are no local candidates on the ballot. There's no money. When I look nationally, there's only 3 or 4 younger working class candidates running for Congress. Okay. And so I was like, I can use this platform to recruit local candidates, to connect with other younger working class candidates across the country, things that I had to learn by trial and error. Now we can create a network of working class candidates just committed to good policy. Yeah. And we can be a support system like the DNC would supposed to be, you know, the party is supposed to be. We created for ourselves. So I have rural messaging. I know how to talk to Republicans and conservatives who may hate the word Democrat. Yeah. I know how to talk to them in a way where we can actually start talking about the issues and not just what we think or assumptions or what we've heard on social media. And so I identify local community leaders, people who are already doing great work in their community. I'm like, you know what, this is what elected officials are supposed to be, like running for office when you already work with your local community. This is the perfect opportunity. And then I can help train them on how to talk to people, how to be confident, how to create a campaign. So for me, it was, okay, I can try and bring down the hyper-partisan rhetoric. I can try and start bringing people to the table so that there's less aggression and conflict in politics and more resolution, like more actual just policy work. Yeah. I can build a campaign that I think will unseat a politician who's not doing good things for the state.
How? That's a battle, to building a reputation for how we unseat politicians.
Right. So
that's a mouthful.
But I've been doing this for 4 years, right? Yeah. So I go and I work with Grange Halls and VFWs, and we actually have a massive union membership in the state of Idaho, even though we're right to work. But the vast majority of our union members are Republican. And so I would just go to locals, and it's become a running joke because I just go and I'm like, listen, don't hate me. Don't hate me yet. Like, I'm running as a Democrat. I'm not going to take your guns. But let's talk about your job. Like, let's talk about the energy contracts that you guys, let's talk about the labor agreements. Let's talk about pensions. Let's talk about, you know, OSHA. Like, it's just talking about the policy. And you build this trust and relationship with voters because they now know you. Like, I'm not just a Democrat that they saw on Facebook. I'm Kaylee, and they know my family, and they know that I am on the road constantly. Yeah. I don't just sit at home and do, fundraise and send text messages. I am on the road. I do town halls and coffee meet and greets, and I do Zoom town halls so people can ask me whatever questions. I'm totally transparent about everything. And even without money, you know, after 4 years, I build trust with communities, and then they make introductions to other communities. So in 22, there was no chance ever, no matter how much money I had, I could ever win. 24, there was no chance I could ever win. Now we're 26. We actually have paths to be successful because of that work, because of the community we've built. And especially right now, I mean, things have gotten so much worse in terms of the temperature in the room around politics.
So bad.
I mean, it just continues to get worse and worse and worse. And so we joke at my house, I feel like America's marriage counselor.
Oh, yeah.
Where, it's like some of my friends call me the mom. Some of my friends call me the Miss Rachel of politics. And I'm just, I'm trying to get us focused on who the real enemy is, which are politicians who have sold out, who aren't. And that's both sides.
All of them.
Yes.
Like, homegirl left. We have, what's his name? That doesn't take money from APEC. He's the only one left.
The candidate? Independent candidate?
No. I'm talking in Congress.
Oh,
I can't think of his name. He's the only one left. He's the one that he's Republican, but he talks about Trump and policy and stuff. But how do we build the trust back? I mean, I feel we're losing trust. That we're such a just angry, tension-filled country right now. Now we got all the ICE bullshit happening. We got there's a shooting the other day at McDonald's over road rage. It's like, why?
Yeah.
Why? Right? So, yesterday, actually. And it's like, okay, you've seen all this shit because I feel the America right now, we're in this just turmoil and weird position because we all got lied to.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are and what party you are. We 100% got lied to.
All of us.
Everybody. So now people are like, we don't trust. I'm one of those. I don't trust anybody. So how is a politician... How do you build trust in people, especially being the opposite party in a Republican state?
You have to hold. So we have to hold ourselves to we have to be perfect. I am 100% transparent with my finances. I don't take money from any kind of super PAC, corporate PAC, APAC. I don't take special interest or think tank money. Mm-hmm. Almost all of my money comes from individual donations. I have a couple larger donors,
okay,
and then local unions. Those are the only PAC dollars that I take, are local unions that I work with,
okay,
that have a federally registered PAC. But also it's creating a network. So it's kind of become this national movement where I have relationships with candidates all over the country that are all committed to the same thing. Mm-hmm. And then we have the policy. So one of the things that we're working on is obviously there's things like banning congressional stock trades, term limits, comprehensive campaign finance reform. We're looking at state level repeal of Citizens United because obviously the federal government isn't going to do it because they're all funded that way.
Yeah.
So there's experimental legislation being tested right now on whether we can repeal it at the state level. So, and we can go state to state to try and get that done. So that's something that we're working on trying to bring into this state.
But you guys are fighting the biggest, most corrupt, I don't want to say fighting, but you're petitioning again. I mean, I guess fighting would be it, but
it is, yeah.
You're fighting against these super PACs and these people that have billionaire funding, and this is where it's like, okay, is this the future? And this is why this conversation, I wanted to have it. Is this the future of us going, okay, Congressman so-and-so, we don't trust you anymore, but we have you that's just this mom that went to college and now she's just grinding it out to try to make a difference. Is that where we have to lean? Is that because clearly we don't trust, I mean, for me, I'll speak for me. I don't trust anybody.
But that's what I hear from everyone. Everyone is in that boat. And so what we have to do, and you know what? 4 years ago, I would have been like, we are fighting Goliath. But right now we are at a tipping point because everyone, the vast majority of Americans are fed up with the system.
Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah.
And, we get the party these people and these people, but everybody agrees the whole thing is not working.
No.
So here's what happens. We can go two directions. One, we just give up. We say, listen, there's no chance. And we end up stuck with whatever monopolized corporate interests
Which
want
is where we are now.
They're going to sell out our labor. They're going to sell out local communities. They're going to sell out the local environmental impacts in our water and our soil. Mm-hmm. I mean, they are going to use us up and spit us back out, and only 0.8% of the population is going to benefit.
Yep.
Or we, at my level, work as hard as humanly possible to build the kind of national network, to build trust in communities, to create a nationwide movement of just unconnected working class representation around policy. Not ideas, not big abstract talking points, not talking about like, oh, we're going to make America this again or da-da-da-da, policy. Like, these are the solutions I am offering to the communities here. I'm not talking about, I'm going to make you rich. I'm talking about this piece of legislation is going to protect you from that. This piece of legislation is going to protect you from that. And if we are successful, then it means we've reached enough people nationwide that we can get enough people elected to DC that we can push this through committee and House floor.
You don't think these big PACs are going to sniff that out and put funding against and crush everybody in the way?
What do they? Here's the thing. I've learned that the things that I thought made me a bad candidate make me the kind of candidate that people want right now. Like, I remember when I started, I was so embarrassed that I didn't go to a better university or that I didn't come from pedigree or status. I tried to look more professional, sound more professional.
That's not who we are. It's not who the people are.
And then I realized that's everything that's wrong with politics right now. That's everything. And so the more authentically myself I became, the more I realized that's desperately what communities want, is somebody who's authentically them in whatever way that is. They just want somebody who's honest, who's transparent, who works hard, and who's genuine. That's all they're looking for. It doesn't even matter what shape or whatever you come.
I would 100% agree with you on that.
Yeah.
That's where, because going back to no trust, which I think we're going to talk about a lot through this episode, because that's where the whole country is. Me personally, but then it's so hard to believe what these people are spewing, because we've been listening to this our whole entire lives, and our parents and their parents. And it's like, where has it gotten us listening to these politicians? I'm going to blah, 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 and I'm in your community. And then you never see them again. As soon as the campaign's over, these motherfuckers are gone.
Out.
Yeah, you're walking the streets in the hood, and you got your little entourage and your posse, and hey, you're shaking hands.
Oh, yeah. When I started this, the person I'm running against had never done a public event other than fancy fundraisers with local political groups. And so that's how I got my start. Is I just started hosting the town halls, the Republican town halls. And that's what you had mentioned, asking Republican voters to come question the Democrat. Yeah. Like, tell me what you don't like about the D next to my name. Like, let's just talk about what you want to see from government. And it has become, here's where we're at. Social media and the way that we get information has completely changed how we understand the world around us.
How?
20 years ago, if I went on the local news station and it went out at 6 o'clock, 85% of the people in the state would have seen it or heard about it. We all got our information from relatively the same local sources. Yep. That has completely shifted. Not only do you have social media and websites, but then the algorithm is sending different information to different people. So everybody is getting their information and their truth from a million different places, which one, it makes it incredibly expensive to try and get your message out across all of these other platforms.
Okay.
Because either you can naturally do something that hits the algorithm, which is a lot of rage baiting or shock value. Yep. Like, if I'm sitting here just trying to sound as common sense and reasonable, and it's not going to hit the algorithm. It's not going to go viral, right? So, and then what also happened is learning how to manipulate that. What we do is we take one story and we spread it across social media as if it represents all of the problems in the world, right? Like, let's say, I'm just going to do a totally random example. It's not going to be a real world example, right? Okay. Just because I can't think of anything, right? Yeah. Let's say you see a white 35-year-old woman having a rage at a McDonald's, right? And she's throwing cups and she's flipping off and she's grabbing money out of the register and she takes off. Well, now you can put that up on social media and say, these 35-year-old white women are the problem. Look at their rage. Look at how they disrespected this establishment. This is what's wrong with America today. You can do that with anything now. And the people who have the most money are able to get the most messaging out across all of these. So they get to define how we experience the world. One of the most fascinating things for me being a criminal justice student is you learn statistics. Statistically, in the United States of America, those who are most likely to be victimized are often the least afraid of it. And those who are least likely to be victimized are often the most afraid of it. Older white women tend to be the most afraid of being victimized or being the victim of crime, even though we statistically are the least likely. And if we look at criminal statistics since 2005, our nation is safer than it has ever been. But if you go on social media, you go online, it looks like we are constantly surrounded by violence and crime and aggression. And that doesn't mean that there aren't some things that are happening more now than they did in the last 5 years. But it's just, it became whoever has the most funding is able to define what our society looks like. And when we get our information from the same places, and it happens on all sides. So then all of a sudden we understand the world around us, not because of our relationships in our community. And also on top of that, everybody is working harder than they've ever worked, making less money than they ever have. Life is exhausting, and it is intentionally more difficult than it has ever been for working class people. Everything breaks. Nothing's made as well as it used to be.
We just had this conversation last night. Yes.
Corporations and monopolized industries are using really underhanded tactics, like insurance companies. Delay, deny. They're making it as complicated and frustrating a process. Same with tech support, same with phone companies. Everything is designed to be as exhausting and frustrating for working class people as possible.
For sure.
So all of a sudden now we are getting this information from online. We are way less involved in community because we don't have the opportunity to be as involved in community. That seems almost like a luxury now, like to have that time or that ability or that to be as involved in your community as you want to be. And it's the perfect storm. It makes it really easy to define everything that's wrong with America as whoever is being pointed at online.
That's where, like, she'll ask me questions. Dad, have you seen this? Or I'll have somebody, and I'm like, this is kind of a conspiracy, but I'm sure it's easily proven. On social, when I say, I'll joke with her all the time. I joke with my oldest. She'll be like, Dad, you seen this new trend? I'm like, honey, you live in a different algorithm than I do.
Yep.
And it's a real thing. There's people out there that have no idea of what's on my social media page. And I'm not, like, I'll open it up and show the world. There's nothing negative, like, besides the violence and political bullshit. But, like, I'm seeing things, and I'll show my wife, I'm like, God, this is hilarious. And she's like, I've never seen that in my life. I'm like, what? And it just proves you that depending on the algorithm that you're served or searched or they've picked up on, that's what you're fed. Like, there's people on this planet that live next door to each other that live in completely different algorithms, which are different worlds. And they are just being fed so much different shit and propaganda and the hate and just this. And so it's crazy. And now you're here trying to build this is who I am. Look at me. But you don't have the big funding behind you. So you're just like this little minnow in the ocean of social media trying to get your name out there, which, I mean, you probably need millions of dollars in campaign money just for social media alone.
And we've lucked out, one, because we've gotten a lot of momentum on social media just because the way that we were doing things was novel. So actually, when I first started, the FEC is the organization at the federal level that regulates campaign finances.
Okay.
It's the FEC.
Okay.
So my first cycle, my kids were still really young, which meant everything I did, I had to have childcare for, which I didn't have. And I don't make any money off the campaign. Like, I can't take a cent from the campaign for any personal reasons. I can pay to cover the cost of gas. And if I need a place to stay while I'm on the road, that's it. So the FEC had just started allowing campaign contributions to be used for childcare. So when I ran, that was the first cycle ever that candidates could use campaign money for childcare. And I didn't even realize that.
They probably never needed it before because they're all
they're all older dudes with a lot of money. And so I was actually one of the top 5 in the nation for using it. And so we made a big national article about that. Actually, we just had Politico cover us because they were looking at younger working class candidates using social media. And so we've just, and social media has probably been the hardest thing for me. Like I said, I wasn't a public person. I wasn't online very much before the campaign. Yeah. And it is a whole nother world and language and learning and getting comfortable.
Each platform's different demographics, different ages. So yeah, you can't.
And speech and debate helped me with the speech and debate definitely helped me there, but it was also just learning it. And so I'm very lucky. I think I'm going to feel so weird being 35. I think I'm technically a micro influencer now based on my numbers on TikTok.
You've made it.
But it is incredibly difficult to try and get it out there.
Oh, for sure.
But honestly, the more I try to avoid the normal kind of talking points and partisan talking points, the more I think we actually build a community that's willing to listen.
Nobody gives a shit anymore.
Yeah.
If we're going to keep Idaho. What the fuck does that mean?
Yeah.
What does that even mean? Cool. Great. How do I lower my bills, my groceries? I went to shopping with my wife. We were going on a little trip, and she just wanted to go get like toiletries. I'm carrying 2 grocery bags out of Walmart. It's like $190, and I'm looking at her going, "What the fuck?" She goes, "Yeah, welcome to shop," because I don't shop. I'm one of those men that
I hate shopping too.
I never stepped in Walmart, grocery store, anything ever in my life again. I'm cool with it. So I don't have experience, and like I'm not on the shelves like, "Oh my God, this is so expensive." I'm walking out like looking at my wife, "What the fuck did you buy?" And she's like, "Yeah, welcome to the economy." She's like, I'm like, holy crap. Like, it's just insane. So like, then when you hear these politicians speak, it's just like, bro, shut up. I don't believe anything you're saying. So now you're battling that as well, of generations of just filth politicians lying to their districts, not changing anything. So you're battling everything.
I think though, there's a certain politician speak that we have all gotten really used to.
Okay.
And it does tend to be easier to point out. And I think the hyper-partisan divide definitely hurts a little bit, because whatever party you agree with, then you tend to trust those people more, whether they're for or against the things that are helping you.
Yeah.
And so for me, it really is just the evidence. Like, I try and get very specific with the numbers that I have, the information that I have, why I believe the things that I believe, why I support the pieces of legislation that I do. It really is trying to bring back the idea of a statesman. And this is something that I really love about my experience in Idaho. Because for me, driving up and down the state, me being up in North Idaho as often as I was a novel thing. Boise tends to be kind of the political power center
Absolutely.
of the state, and then the rest of the state tends to feel really kind of just left behind and following with whatever happens in Boise. Well, I built the first really big close-knit community I built politically in Idaho was in North Idaho.
Okay.
So I spent so much time up there. I was traveling up north every month and, doing events everywhere, Lewiston and Riggins and Orfino and Kamiah and Bonners Ferry. And I still remember it was like the 3rd or 4th time I was in Bonners Ferry, which is up in Boundary County. And we were hosting a town hall with a couple other candidates. And after the town hall, there was a gentleman that got up and he goes, "The last time a politician came to Bonners Ferry more than once was Frank Church." And there were 4 or 5 people in that room who all remembered back when Frank Church used to come. And there are still communities to this day that remember Frank Church going and sitting down at the local coffee shop and just doing one-on-one. Like, people would come to the coffee shop and then get to talk to him.
Yep.
And there is this sense of just people want somebody that is actually active in the local community, and it's a ridiculously hard work. And it seems so counterintuitive to the political process right now and how to win, but I think that's how we fix it. We set that standard again. And there's something really unique about what a politician needs to be able to do versus what we see right now. Because like I said, right now, you're able to take one story, and then if you have enough money behind it, you can make it seem like that's the whole problem.
Okay.
But politicians, good politicians, real leaders, what I think they need to be able to do is hear these personal stories, see the responsibilities, see the weight on local communities, but also then zoom out and get a bigger picture, be able to look at the big picture, be able to look at the data and the research and the evidence and see where's the cause of this? How do we address this big picture? How do we make these you have to be able to look at the minutia, and you also have to be able to look at the big picture, and you have to be able to weigh those two things.
How many of these politicians, though, are willing to do that when they have mommy, daddy money backing them?
None.
So that's like, you see, like, okay, that's a great theory because you're doing it. But how many of these little rich kids that are mom and dad went to Yale and they're connected with all the alumni and everything else, and they've groomed their child, and then he just steps right in. He's not going to drive the Orfino, and
No.
He's not going to Hagerman to have lunch at the local cafe and like, hey, here I am running for your district. Like, how? So is this the future of politics? But how how far do we have to go? How many years have to go on before we start waking up? Because I feel like that's the problem with my personal opinion. That's a huge problem with this country right now, is that we're in so many different parts of the race, right?
Right.
I'm with you. I want to see who's representing us at the VFW, at the local, event that you're hosting. But how many years are going to have to go until all these states start waking up and be like, yo, this dude's just a piece of shit politician. Like, fuck this guy. He's been preaching this. His people have been preaching this. Like, how do we get America to wake up and start legitimately voting for differences and voting for us? But then how do we trust politicians? Because they're all standing there with their little town hall meetings and like, yeah, I got your back, and I'm going to be here for the people and the working class and the coal miners, and we're not going to take your guns, and I'm not pushing vaccine. And then they get up to Congress and they get APAC money and they're like, fuck all of you people. Like
it is.
That's how I look at politicians.
It is not far off. It was devastating, I think, for me, especially looking up to that. Like, this is
for sure.
This is something I idolize. Like, being in Congress, I cried the first time I went to Washington D.C. to meet with I'm looking out at the Washington Monument and the Supreme Court building and Congress and all of these things, which really have been just a huge part of my entire life, something I've loved and I'm passionate about. And then I'm there in person. I'm getting to see this as I'm getting to run this campaign. I got really sentimental with it. But here's what I will say. When I started 4 years ago, it was crickets. Like, it was pulling teeth. I had entire counties that were dark. I was driving 3 hours each way to meet with one contact in an area because we had nobody else that we could reach out to. It was literally just incredibly difficult. There were no local candidates running on the ballot, and that becomes a whole nother issue, because if you've only got one candidate at the top and then you've just got a federal, then that federal candidate needs to know every single person in the local counties instead of us being able to create like a network, a community. So what I have seen over the last 4 years is we are there. Like, it's already, that is happening. I have seen such a drastic change. And so many more people are talking like you, where it's like, I honestly don't even care what party you're with. So then what we have to do, like for me, my job then is I need to be able to show people exactly how to dig into a candidate. Like, this is what you should be looking for in the candidates on your ballot, and trying to make that, open the political process up and make it as transparent so that people know what sources they can go look at to see where this money is coming from. They can check certain things there.
It's a bold statement, though. If you're telling people to start looking into other candidates, like, you're going to put a target on you, because the corruption's so deep. I'm one of those. Like, you're never buying. I'm never being bought. I'm going to speak my mind. I don't give a shit what it costs me. I'm going to be me. But I'm going to be the person like, yeah, let's burn the torches, like burn everything. We need to see everything about these people. But that's going to kick the hornet's nest over at Capitol Hill. Are you prepared for this? I mean, okay.
100%. I was really nervous when I first started. I actually remember that interview that I told you about when I first saw the post and I said, and they called me. I still remember the person I was talking to was like, listen, you have small children. Just know, with the way things are right now, that you'll probably, deal with death threats. You might deal with some conflict, and is that something you can handle? And she actually now tells this story. Apparently I said, that's all the reason why I need to do it. And I still remember getting the first death threat. And I have never wanted to work harder at anything in my life. And that's, I think, when I realized that my backstory that I thought was this, vulnerability or was actually I'm just like, there is nothing that these people can do. Because tear apart my life. Like, I have just talked to you about, like, literally the darkest, most terrible things that have ever happened in my life. And I realized, like, I'm not ashamed of any of this. Yeah, it's just a piece of my history. So I don't have the skeletons.
It's what made you you.
It's what makes me me. And also I realized I didn't victimize any. You know what? Like, all of my skeletons are me being a vulnerable and insecure young person who's grown so much from that. Yep. And also I am so much I've had some people in person get really crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah. Like, and there is a way. I'm very, very good at calming down anger. It's something that I've been able to do. And so I think my husband's probably more scared than anybody
For
else.
sure. People are fucking crazy. People are crazy.
Well, and you never know, like things, the monopolization of wealth and corporate power in America, I mean, I am going after the big dogs. We have a running joke that if anything ever happened to me on the trail, then I'd either rag in it and be like, I should have ducked, or I'll just, you better use my name to push the movement forward. But yeah, there's nothing that they can share about me that I wouldn't share about myself. Okay. And I'm really grateful that I got into this learning how, like, that authenticity was everything. Yeah. Like, I'm a goofy, ridiculous person. You know what I mean? Like, I want to build a political campaign, setting that as the standard, and then also showing other candidates that they can also do that. And it's been incredibly successful. Like, this is an election cycle. I have a path to actually win. Good. Okay. It's a Hail Mary. I mean, I'm not saying it's not going to be like a crazy, ridiculous effort, and it's going to take a ton of work. But that's something that 4 years ago you wouldn't have even thought it was possible. Okay. So, and the nation is at that point. People are exhausted. People are working harder. And I think especially Gen Z is now coming up, and they're dealing with, they can barely afford rent. Like, it's not even they're worried about prices going up. They're struggling. They're living with multiple roommates just to try and get by. Yeah. And so they need to wake up. I mean, all of us need to wake up. Yeah. What is something, since getting into politics and going for Congress and battling Goliath, what is something you have learned that would shock people? You know what it is? And it's the thing that I wish I could just share with every person individually, because we often argue so much about where our federal tax dollars go. Yes. And especially in a state like Idaho, where we're 63 to 66% federal lands, which means it's really hard to generate revenue on these lands in order to pay for local infrastructure, education, yada, yada. They have made such massive cuts to rural healthcare, education, federal land management, like the Forest Service, all of these federal agencies, you know, that are trying to do fire prevention and drought mitigation have dealt with such big cuts. And we talk so much about, well, I don't want, like, why should my tax dollars be going to cover this? Yeah. We don't look at how much money we send to the top. So, for instance, we spend $35 billion in direct subsidies every single year just to the fossil fuel industry, $760 billion annually if you include tax cuts, indirect subsidies, handouts. And that's just one industry. That's one of the most monopolized industries in the world. But then they cut some of the renewable energy contracts. And I remember a politician saying, well, if it requires subsidies and it can't stand on its own 2 feet. Well, these were incredibly lucrative job opportunities for our steelworkers, for our electricians. This was nobody's saying we stop mining and stop logging, but they cut that. But then we're not talking about the $800 billion annually that our federal government misses out on because we pass out these handouts. And now health insurance companies are such a scam. It is so disgusting. It is so disgusting what they've done to this country. Yep. I mean, I now have had 7 friends deal with cancer, and I've lost 3 of them. How do we have more funding than ever on cancer, but more people are dying of cancer? Well, and they just actually cut a ton of, a few of my U of I students that were MAGA, I went up this last cycle, and he was like, they cut my cancer research. They're grad students up there. They cut all of the funding for the cancer research that was being done. And now, it is shocking, but we are there's so much information. So like I said, I'm a data nerd, but it's somewhere between 50 and 70 trillion dollars has gone from working class local economies just to the top 1% in the last 40 years. So the middle class, when people are like, it's so hard to make it. Yeah, it is incredibly impossible to make it right now because you tax cuts and handouts and subsidies and tax havens and loopholes. And also the funny thing is that a Democrat is a socialist or a communist. And I like to talk about like, no, I'm actually for free market capitalism because right now we don't have that. There are no free markets. The government has chosen the winners and losers because you can't have monopolies in a free market. No. There's no competition. And right now, the government is giving all of our tax money and all of the tax breaks and all of these loopholes to the most monopolized corporate industries in the country. And then those corporations then pay their employees as little as humanly possible, take shortcuts on quality, shortcuts on this. They're able to jack up prices because there's no competitors driving their prices down.
Well, they buy the competitors. We were talking about it. You go to Walmart, you look, and you're like, okay, there's this aluminum-free deodorant. Then you have all the other deodorants. And then you look, and it's the same company.
They're all the same company.
They're all owned by the same. You're like, I'm going to buy this because it's healthy. But then you look, and you're like, wait, the company that's making this absolute dog shit also makes the better version of it?
It's all lies. It's all lies. And the government allows them to lie to you. They allow false advertising. They allow, the lack of regulation. So here's what happens. When my conservative voters across the state of Idaho hear things like regulation, in their head, they're thinking about the regulatory and tax burdens that they deal with. Because small businesses have all the regulations. Small family farms deal with all the regulations. They're the ones dealing with all the taxes. They're the ones that the federal government creates so much bureaucratic red tape that it is not in any way possible for them to be successful.
The government hates anything small.
But when I'm talking about regulation, when I'm talking about taxes, I'm talking about the monopolized corporate industries and the top 1% that have lobbied government. So that's why these conversations are so important. And that's why I do the work in community face to face. Because when I'm actually able to talk about this, and then also I'm saying like, listen, I'm going to take these guys down. And I'm promising you, I won't take $1 from anybody that could ever thwart me from this mission.
How do you make that statement being a Democrat and not falling into the trap?
What are they? Here's the beauty. No, here's the beauty. Here's the beauty.
You have to sell your soul, I feel. My opinion.
Yeah.
You have to sell your soul to make it.
Why?
Who's done it without it?
I'm about to. That's the plan.
That's why I'm having this conversation. I just love the mentality of it. I hate the fact that there's a title put on it because both titles are so tainted. Yeah. Doesn't matter what you say, but like you say, I'm going to fight. I'm putting all of these regulations and legislative, everything's going in against the man. How are you from Idaho and all these other little pieces to this puzzle scattered through their areas and their states? How do we all come together and back this? That's my biggest thing. It's like, cool, we've heard all of them. I'm going to make a difference. We're going to attack big pharma. We're going to make food healthy again. I'm going to blah, 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 right? Where do we go?
It sounds so corny and simple, but it is actually what we desperately need right now. And it's building coalition and getting organized at the ground level. Because if you look at any of these elected politicians, they don't know a single member in there. Like, they have maybe a couple political connections and donors and things, but they're paying somebody else to put all of this stuff out.
100%.
Whereas we're building actual coalition that doesn't require any money. So right now I could probably reach out to tens of thousands of my contacts and get something out. It would take a ton of effort.
For sure.
And it would take our team, but we've built that from the ground up. And because I don't get anything from the party, the only thing that I get from the party is from the local party. So I work with my local county chairs, my local volunteers, and these aren't big DNC members. These are Idaho Democrats. These are people who, one of the hardest working people I've ever met in my life. This woman runs a farm. Her husband and her work 7 days a week. They are low-income family, and yet this woman is still at every event. She's out at every community event. She's out there working for everybody. It is really about building coalition and then also having solutions. So one of the things that we're doing, like I said, we're looking at bringing the Repealing Citizens United to the state. I'm looking at bringing repealing right to work to the state of Idaho. One of the things I'm most excited about is we are drafting legislation because I was looking for somebody that had already offered this that I could support and I couldn't find it. Okay. Right now, one of the biggest issues in the federal government is it doesn't matter how corrupt they are. It doesn't matter how many times they break rules or laws or lie under oath. There's no consequences. And I think we've learned over the last 10 years, we just keep watching it get worse and worse and worse. And we're like, where are the consequences?
Yeah.
And it was shocking to me. I always assumed, like, at this level, if you did something wrong, you get arrested. Like, there would be some level.
Insider trading, all the funds that are being milked through different companies.
Yeah. And it's like, oh, well, apparently there is nobody that can. It's like, oh, apparently Congress has to agree on whether or not they're going to get in trouble. And that doesn't work, because it turns out now it's, if you're on this side, it doesn't matter what you do. And if you're on that side, it doesn't matter what you do. We're never going to be able to hold any of them accountable.
100%.
So we're working at trying to draft new legislation that would create an oversight and enforcement mechanism.
Okay.
So an independent oversight an agency within the federal government at that level with actual enforcement mechanisms. So if you do this, you're out. Like I am talking about serious accountability and consequence measures. And of course, this is something that's going to have to be like, we're going to have to figure out where's the right level on this. But that's something every single grassroots candidate that I work with is like, heck yeah. Every voter I talk to is like, heck yeah.
Yes.
We can build coalition. And every candidate that I work with now nationwide, because 4 years ago, there was 3 of us. Now there's hundreds of us all running, and all of us are supporting each other. So none of us are getting money from corporations or from the party. We don't rely on anybody other than all of these other independent grassroots candidates that are as committed to the same things as the others. Mm-hmm. So we build that coalition. We have the policy, and then we create a movement, and all of us lift each other up. So then when enough of us get elected to DC, that's when we have the real opportunity. Because now if you have a bunch of brand new candidates who are offering real solutions that the American people want, we have the platform, we're elected. So now we're in the news saying, hey, we're introducing this bill that would solve all of these problems that 98% of the American public wants. What is the other 30% of Congress going to do? Disagree? Vote against it? Then they risk their seat. And all of a sudden we bring where politicians are looking back to voters instead of just money.
Okay, so saying that, just so I'm tracking, you and all the others you're speaking about of this new wave, right? Let's say Democrats. I hope this is happening on the Republican side. Or are you speaking just everybody in general? You're probably speaking more Democrats.
Everybody in general. Like, I do tend to work with more Democrats, but I 100% have worked with Republican candidates.
Okay. So what you're saying is there's this movement in the young political party for the individuals in these states. You're all trying to bring this party together to go into Congress to kind of push out all the dinosaurs in a way, to bring in new policies and all this stuff. How long is that going to take to happen?
Well, we're getting at the point where it's either going to happen in the next 2 years or we're in big trouble. I mean, the country
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
Where do we
the
go?
country is in a really bad spot right now.
Billions to Ukraine, billions to Israel, billions to all the other fucked up countries nobody gives a shit about, helping pay for everything else. Like, where do we go? Like, we sit here and we listen to Trump saying we're in the golden era, but meanwhile, like, our infrastructure's falling apart. I've been to wealthy countries where it's clean, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
You go to anywhere in the Middle East, Saudi Arabia, Dubai, any of that stuff, dude, those are golden era. When you're going to speak golden, here you go to LA and the bridges are so rotten that they can't even shut them down because they're going to cost billions of dollars to replace this stuff. Like, how do we stop this hemorrhage? Okay, I guess that's where my question gets to. You guys are building this cool little pack and everything. You're going to make a difference, right? Let's pray to God that it happens on both sides. How do we do this before we run out of blood in this country? Like, we are draining ourselves so quick, at least how I feel, of where all of our money's going. The American people are just drowning. I mean, everybody's everyone's feeling it. How much time? Like, how do we do this in time? Like, how do we get these people that are getting fed ICE this and FBI this and Kash Patel this and every other thing that's going in the Pete Hegseth and the director of war, we're bombing these people and rocketing. It's like, fuck, like, where do we even just point in a direction to just bring everybody back together? Okay, this is what we need to focus on. Is that even realistic at this point?
I mean, it's either going to happen in the next couple of years. It'll have to happen before the next presidential election, and I'm hoping we have that much time. I'm not listen, I know that what I'm talking about is very idealistic and optimistic. Like, this is how I know that we can get to that point without having to rely on. Here's the thing. it's going to have to, we're going to have to hit them from all points. And there's a few things that need to happen. Working class people in this country need to take their power back.
Yes.
Because that's where, and I know people say, well, unions sometimes protect bad employees. Well, they do far less damage than corporate shareholders and boards due to local communities.
Okay. Yeah, for
sure.
sure.
And when the pendulum swings way too far one way, like right now in this country, we know from the data and research that members of unions get paid better, they have better healthcare benefits, and they have bigger pensions and are able to retire at earlier ages. And they are also way safer on the workplace. But in right to work states like Idaho, that is not the case. Like, we are making such little money. We need to have a big labor movement. And that's things like general strikes. That's things that cost corporations and monopolized industries money.
I'm for that.
We have to hit them where it hurts. And then at the same time be running candidates that have immediate policy solutions. Like, we have to break apart monopolized corporate conglomerates in the country. Yeah. We have to bring back, we also have to make sure that the loopholes and the tax breaks and all of this stuff are back going towards middle working class and small businesses. Like, there is a way to even this out. And like I talked about, we talk about Ukraine and we talk about Israel, and I agree, right? Ukraine, a little less, like, it's actually a lot more like weapons systems and manufacturing, and there is mining and different elemental deals that are really important there.
There's a lot going on.
There's a lot going on
in Ukraine besides the war.
There's a lot going on. But here's the deal. The amount of money that we shell out at the top for just 0.08% of the population to benefit, it is shocking. And here's the thing. The lie is that we can't just take care of infrastructure or education. I mean, let's look at how ICE has functioned over the last few months, right?
Okay.
They just budgeted out $898 million, almost $1 billion, just for employee bonuses in ICE.
Okay.
Congress just sent $1 billion to ICE just for bonuses. And then on top of that, the cost of these deportations is excessive. And we're creating a private military industrial complex that is taking care of that detention. That's all for profit. And the government is also paying a lot of that. So, like, there is money. We can actually financially take care of things that are urgent. Mm-hmm. But we're not. We're sending it towards detention, which actually doesn't give anything back, because the truth is undocumented people weren't preventing wages from being higher or taking jobs from like that's not a systemic issue that was making life harder for working class people. So the money is there. We can address these problems in the short term while we address the actual budget deficits in the long term, if that makes any sense.
It makes sense. So I'm very torn on ICE, right? When we talk about everything on this episode, I don't even know I lose probably a lot of followers, have to shit up my mouth. I'm torn on ICE. One, they're there. They're there because the people of those communities have voted, and that's their laws and everything is because us, the American people, we voted, right? Whoever's running this shit, whoever's in charge of everything, we're putting these people in charge to run these things. To a certain extent. There's a lot of good old boy shit going on. I get it. And trust me, jump in anytime. I keep seeing these things like, well, this is how it has to get done. This is how ICE has to take things. But if you, and correct me, you're a statistics data person.
Yeah.
From the last things that I read, Obama has deported more people than Trump has even come close to, but we didn't have these problems in our streets.
Right. There are big differences. And this is where you can use numbers in a manipulative way.
Okay.
For instance, somebody was just talking about how under Obama, 56 people were killed in ICE. And so, 56 versus 38, this is a more gentler administration.
Okay.
But 56 is 8 total years of the ICE versus 38 in 11 to 13 months, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's ways that we use information. Here's the problem. there was a mass migration for environmental and economic unrest in South and Central America.
See, I don't give a fuck.
No, like I'm trying to, let's look at where the causes come from, why something happened.
Okay.
So then COVID happened and we weren't able to handle the southern border, and they made the disastrous decision to do Title 42. So all of a sudden we had so many people coming across the border, and we didn't have the immigration courts, lawyers, judges, border agents. We didn't have any of the funding in any of these areas to handle that.
See, I put that all on Biden.
I mean, yeah, it was the administration.
Yes.
But here's the thing. This also started happening under Trump.
Yeah.
The migration, the mass, like it started under Trump. So it wasn't like Biden did this one disastrous thing and caused it all to go awry, right?
But I feel
the border was a mess.
Opened the gates and just allowed. I mean, you could see the numbers, and I'm not saying Trump's doing anything better, but you can see the numbers just spike during that. So then.
But here's where I really struggle, because I think we should be really specific with how we talk about it, right?
Okay.
Open borders, we did have way too many people coming in, and we didn't have the systems to get them in the correct way. But that doesn't mean we just had open border. There were still contacts. Like we still understood who was coming in. That doesn't mean that there weren't more undocumented people coming in. So like I try to be very reasonable with how I say things.
I don't know. Like I got buddies that have been on the border for years, and I'll call one of them right now. He said it was insane. He said they would just sit there and just watch these dudes, Asians, Russians, South Americans. He said during that time, he's like, bro, it was so bad. We couldn't even say it. They would just laugh at us, and we'd have to watch. We would watch groups of hundreds at a time just pouring in. And I've asked, what's the difference now? He's like, oh, dude, it's night and day. He's like, we were dealing with thousands in a month. Now we're dealing with a couple hundred.
Right. But that's at the border, right?
Yes.
Nobody is saying that what is happening at the border right now is a problem.
Mm-hmm.
Like, the shutting down and making sure that migration stops at the southern border is not the issue that anybody has right now.
Okay.
And
I feel a lot of the left that's a huge major issue for them.
no. So what the left what I'm hearing and what the issue is that they are now targeting legal residents. Because here's what I hear all the time. ICE can't go at you unless they have a warrant. They can't take you without due process. They cannot detain you without lawyers. But that is what is happening. Mm-hmm. So ICE has an undocumented person that they know is in this community, and they are trying to find that person and deport them. Mm-hmm. What they are doing is grabbing Black and brown people and people of color in these communities and then checking to see if they're citizens.
Yeah, I have a problem with that.
That is a huge problem. But here's the issue. Now, a memo has gone out from the executive branch that gives ICE the authority to go into homes without a warrant. And we're seeing, it is documented.
Oh, no, I'm not arguing.
Yeah.
That's going to be a problem.
They are knocking door to door in these communities asking about neighbors who are people of color. Like, they are running license plates. And if the name is Hispanic, they are stopping that person.
For sure.
There are hundreds of U.S. citizens who have been detained. And now it's just rising and rising and rising. I have never, ever, ever seen an executive federal branch go against local law enforcement, state law enforcement. The information coming out from the Department of Homeland Security is actually different than what's being reported from the FBI in that same area. Mm-hmm. So nobody's saying, like, we want open borders. We're saying, yeah, let's invest in the immigration at the southern border. Under the Biden administration, we actually had started to make strides. There was a $1.3 billion investment into the technology at legal ports of entry to stop things like fentanyl.
Yeah.
But then the Title 42 disaster happened. We needed to plug that. But like in Idaho, they canceled the legal visas of 4 of my grad students at the University of Idaho for no reason. They are going to people's green card appointments. And this is things that I have seen firsthand. This isn't just speculation or lies or so what started as, okay, this is a problem. We need to address this problem, has all of a sudden become almost like a push of the executive versus the states in what this one agency is able to do. And here's my problem is, so like I said, criminal justice background, right? Yeah. Most of my mentors are in law enforcement. Sure. I actually have worked with the Border Agents Union. Like, this is an agency I work with. They rush hired over 12,000 agents in less than 8 months.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
We have people that have never had military experience, law enforcement experience.
Firearms
They're being
experience.
rushed through. And that's what I see. A lot of the times that people are getting hurt or killed in the streets, I see I see somebody accidentally discharging a gun because they're not using it properly. We saw a guy who had no idea what he was doing, drop the firearm, and a random passing by had to give it back to him. And that's an agent who has the authority to deport someone, a citizen, out of this country. So that's where the issue is.
For sure.
And that's where I think the right and the left can come together, and all of us are like, whoa, 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 whoa. Like,
Well, with all this ice shit going on, where's all the don't tread on me bros? Because they're fucking treading. They're treading. Where are you at, bro? With your little snake yellow flag.
We're on the same side here.
Yeah,
like,
it's like,
this is
yeah, but that's the problem, and that's where we're at as a country, is that we're so divided. We can't. How I explain it, I don't support left or right, but I don't support MAGA. But I can't get on the side of Democrats because they're so, the left, the far left, are so far. I'm like, oh God. But then I'm looking at these bros that are out there and they're standing there with their flags. I'm like, you're just as fucking dumb supporting something that he's treading on. They're going in people's homes. They're snatching people. I see a video of this guy blowing leaves and 3 cars pull up and he runs into people's house. I'm like, to me, that guy's working, right? So this is, I guess I catch flack here, and this is where I feel as far as immigration. If you're a family, like, I fought for this country, right? I fought because everybody has the right to come to this country. And this is how I feel. The right way. I have buddies that have married illegals, foreigners, they got their green cards. Dude, I'm all for it. Like,
the president did
our president of the United States
the
did
president
this,
did
right?
this,
Like, you can't argue. You can be like, oh yeah, I don't agree with that. Our president has literally done this. So that's what our country is built on, is immigration. Immigration has built this country. It'll always build this country. I support it. But obviously with the huge influx coming in, if you're a military age male here by yourself, you got to go. I don't care about that. Like, but these families, these people that are trying to just live this American dream, but the process is so expensive, so long, years of going back and forth to try to get any documents and paperwork done. They're not making it. Like, they're fleeing a country for a reason. So we obviously have to change our.
We have to streamline that process, and you want to be really frustrated.
Accepting millions a year, but at the same time, I don't see a bunch of white boys out in the strawberry fields picking strawberries.
Well, and we just decimated. If you go talk to our local farmers, and these are Republicans, these are Idaho Republicans, who are now being robbed of their local community by people that were their neighbors and students and friends and coworkers. Did you notice what you just did there, though, when you talked about it? And this is where I'm trying to get the message across. Because when we look on social media, we're only seeing the fringe, because that's what hits the algorithm.
For sure.
So when conservative voters see liberals online, they're seeing whatever craziest thing hit the, like, rage baited or got the... And so it's so funny, because when we talk, like, I'm not for Democrats, or I guess not for the far left, but these far left and far right are such a small percentage.
That's what represents the parties.
But that's just because of the communications. Like, that's just what we're seeing because of the way our messaging systems work now. Like, and if we can get back down to that local, like, if we can start, I always say that the real way that we win right now is getting, like, the 1960s phone tree back. Like, when everybody had a landline phone and you just called somebody to let them know what was happening locally, or to know that an event was happening, or there was an emergency, or... Because I don't know a single Democrat that's for open borders, or that said that what happened under Biden at the southern border wasn't a problem. Like, I've never met one that said otherwise, because we sit here and we watch Congress, and you watch Nancy Pelosi's old rotten ass up there, and they're fighting against everything. And it's like, what the fuck? So, like, to me, as an average American, those assholes sitting up at Capitol Hill, those are what's representing that party. But then I talk to my neighbor that's hardcore left. Dude, one of the greatest people. Yeah. And I'm like, am I going to sit? Actually, I have. I walk into the gym. I've caught her outside. We've sat and talked. Didn't get anything political. If she want to push and agendas and whatever, that's where I have problems with both sides of parties. When you're pushing agendas, that's where I'm out on either side. But it's the fact that, like, a few years ago, I would have seen her little poster out in the front yard and been like, fuck, we got one in the neighborhood, right? Because that's how we're trained.
to divide and conquer, and that's what they're doing with these algorithms. But she's I have no. I see her all the time. She walks her dog constantly. I have no problem with her at all, and I have no problem talking with anybody. But this feel that's in this country right now, we can't. Oh, you're a Democrat. Oh, you're a Republican.
Well, and it's just that all or nothing language.
Yes.
And I think that's why the problem is, especially with the sound bites, like you have 5 to 10 seconds to catch someone's attention right now. But what we desperately need as a country is the nuanced, comprehensive. We need to be talking about the ins and outs. We need to talk about how the border was a serious problem, but what ICE is doing right now is not the way to fix it. Like we need to have a in-depth conversation with that. So it becomes the biggest problem with how do we address this. However, obviously, right now, I mean, it's hard because Alex, the man who was killed in Minneapolis 2 days ago, he was actually a union brother. He was a member of AFG. He worked at the VA hospital, and he was an ICU nurse. So he did final salutes for veterans. You know, this is especially I work with the AFG. I work with the federal, like I was just in DC with that group. Like these are, especially also like I lost my dad at the VA hospital in Lexington, Kentucky. So like I know what the VA is and how important they are because I've sat and watched somebody, lose a veteran and the way that the VA steps in. So it's hard because it's like we're still talking about the border when it's just so easy to distract and take away from the real conversation that needs to be had, which is how do we break apart and dismantle a communication system and a government that is trying to distract and disseminate and monopolize power and money and influence and get to the real conversation.
And it's so tough because now you take that incident, right, and the one before. You don't know me from Adam, right? Besides this 2 hours and 11 minutes we've been talking and very briefly on social. I am a very make it make sense person. I actually I have a t-shirt. The buddies have made t-shirts like make it make sense. I live my life by if it makes sense, cool. This recent one, I understand protest. And I understand ICE has a job. If you're going to kick a hornet's nest, you're going to get stung. It doesn't matter what side you're on and what your beliefs are. If you're pushing the wrong people, there's going to be backlash. And I'm not saying I support them protesting, and I'm not saying I support ICE. I think it's all fucked right now. But when you're putting yourself in these situations with untrained individuals, you have this huge influx of stress. Everything's anxiety. You got these Antifa online, shoot, kill them all, stand up to your neighbors. We need to da-da-da-da. I've worked very stressful situations. I've worked executive security all over the world. There's things when it's in your mind, it's planted. Hey, on alert, high alert right now. Hey, we're rolling into this area. Everybody, eyes up, guns up, whatever it needs to be. So then it's planted, right? So then you get a guy, which I don't feel he did very much wrong, right? The woman gets pepper sprayed. He's whole filming. Thing. He's filming. They grab him. He turns. He ends up on the ground. I was explaining this to my wife because she asked me. She goes, break it down to me. She was like, for somebody that makes sense, and this is how I'm going to break this situation down. So as somebody from the outside, because I'm torn. Because I'm watching everything. I'm watching they're pushing a lot of boundaries, ICE is. But at the same time, ICE has a job to do, and that is to get illegals out of our country. So I support that. What I don't support is when you have a man on all fours. Here's my big question. I don't know the gun laws where he's at, if he was legally carrying or not.
He was 100% legally carrying.
That changes everything.
He was permitted, and it was holstered. You
have a man that got in an altercation with a police officer, with an ICE agent. He's disarmed. He's on all fours. He is no longer a threat. Here's where it gets tricky. In that situation, you have all of these men on him. As a cop, as a private security, as anything, if you have somebody detained on the ground and you hear gun, everybody 0 to 1,000. I don't know if I want to put this out. When they pulled his pistol out, I feel that dude that had his pistol negligently discharged his pistol.
That's what you could see a recoil. Like, it's not 100%. I can't say 100%.
I can't either. When that shot, this is my theory and my speculation, when that shot goes off, everybody's hearing gun. Disarms him. Nobody else knows where the gun is. You got guys at the head, you got guys at the feet, you got guys on the ground. They're detaining this dude. You hear gun, you hear a shot go off. You are so amped and ready to go. You're just waiting for a cricket to fart before you can start smoking dudes. And that's the reality. I don't care who you're training, you're not trained for that. Bro, when you're in an environment like that and you are max level, you got dudes that are threatening to kill your families, you got all this shit going on. Did they execute that dude? 100%. He's unarmed. He's a civilian, legally carrying a gun, protesting what he needs to do. If he didn't put hands on an ICE agent, you're not getting detained.
Here's the problem. And here's where I will disagree.
Okay.
Let's see. He didn't put hands on an ICE agent. The ICE agent approached him.
For sure.
I'm
so not arguing that.
Here's the problem. And I hear this a lot specifically in Idaho. And I don't know if this is going to get me in trouble or not. I want to address this because it is something I see a lot, and I'm really curious about it because I see a lot of my Republican neighbors saying, well, that's what you get. Like, you're anti-American, you're out there protesting, you're protesting law enforcement. But that's one big issue is these aren't law enforcement. This is against the state's will, and these are not like trained ICE officers with warrants.
No, they're not.
They're not looking. They don't have targeted individuals. They are there picking up people of color to check and see if they are undocumented. Mm-hmm. So, and then on top of that, you have protesters who are filming and stepping away, and you have ICE that is coming up and interact. Like, I can't tell you how many people I've seen get pepper sprayed. Like, this is not even something where it's just my perception. Yeah. There have been 4 separate federal judges that have looked through, one, required body camera footage, but 2, found that ICE agents have completely lied about how altercations began 100%. And have escalated. But here's the thing that I see that I think is really interesting. I know so many of my people in Idaho communities that if they were approached by cops or law enforcement the way that these people are, would have fought so much harder.
I'm fist fighting everybody.
And here's the thing. Because we have such a safe and calm community, our law enforcement tends to have great relationships with community. Yeah. Like, we aren't overly policed. I live up in the North Eagle foothills. I think I've seen like a police officer up there 3 times, and it's because they went out to park and have lunch and watch the beautiful view, right? But if a cop just came up to one of our residents without a warrant, without probable cause, didn't tell them why they were approaching.
I'm fist fighting.
Because a cop can demand your identification they can pull you out of a car without telling you why. They actually have quite a bit of authority in these situations. Mm-hmm. And we saw it with Ammon Bundy. We saw it with several different groups where when they are faced with this kind of law enforcement interaction within the legal frameworks, they feel as if they are being tread on. And so what I want us to do is really look at these situations where this is not law enforcement. These are not properly trained people.
100%
These are people operating outside of that framework. And I want the don't tread on me crowd. Like, I'm here for that. I don't want the U.S. government to be able to dictate how you live, how you believe, what you do with your family. Like, I don't want that. I want the government to provide the economy you need to be successful, the infrastructure we need to build out successful. Like, that's it. So it's hard for me because I look at ICE and I look at what would have happened if that had been a white Idaho family and this state would have had an uprising unlike anything else. Mm-hmm. And I am not someone who overreacts. Like I said, I've faced quite a bit of violence.
For sure.
I have never been more afraid with the amount of just unregulated, no oversight, untrained people going out and starting and escalating conflicts with legal citizens and people.
There's a lot of situations where I watch and I'm like, ugh, because I've been, my whole military career, I started a very successful executive security company, worked for guys all over the place. I worked private security in Afghanistan. I've been there. I watch a lot of what these law enforcement officers are doing in these situations, and I'm like, like your number one job is to de-escalate. Like, why aren't we out here talking to these people? Like, I watched an ICE agent roll up and he goes, "You fucking idiots." He's like, "We're trying to grab a pedophile right now." And he's like,
Right.
"Okay, go do your but like, if you're just snatching random, give me your ID. Who are you? Hey, if it's the law though, that's the law.
But it's not the law. That's the problem. They grabbed a 17-year-old American citizen. They're not like
I've seen videos of him screaming, "I'm an American. I'm a citizen." Like, I've seen these videos.
Like, with drivers. It is just unbelievable, because the problem is we expect law enforcement to be honest, because our law enforcement communities are. But then we watch ICE and what they're doing, and they're saying, well, we didn't know. And it's like, well, they had their birth certificate, they had their driver's license, they had documentation. And now I've never seen this before. I have always been someone, like, I watch body cam footage all the time because it's such a great way to see how we behave in public and perception. Yep. And I can't tell you how many times I've seen somebody who's being investigated. I know my rights. You can't do this. Da, da, da. They don't know what they're talking about. The cops with 100% within their legal rights, right? Yeah. It is always the situation. But we get into these camps and it's really dangerous, because if all of a sudden we're going to support ICE no matter what, because we believe in law enforcement, even when ICE is not law enforcement, they are not legally trained, they are not vetted, and they are not operating within their rights, that becomes very dangerous. Sure. We have to start looking at these situations. And I look at the database that they have started of domestic terrorists. So if you are on social media and you are talking about certain issues, you are now, and it just happened, they canceled the passports of multiple American citizens who flew out of the country without realizing there was an issue. And then Interpol stopped them as they got out of the country because they are now on the list.
See, that was a topic that I have. Every one of these protesters that are getting arrested, and how I hate that they're labeling them as a domestic terrorist.
Yeah.
Now, so for me, this is subtle foreshadowing when they want to take control. Now you're a terrorist. Oh, you don't like it? You're a terrorist. You're against us? You're a terrorist. We're throwing around domestic terrorists way too easy. You tell me that's a domestic terrorist, I'm thinking some dude making pipe bombs, planning plots. We're going to drive a car into a building. That's domestic terrorism. But I can't sit here and say that I've looked up the definition for our government of what considered a legal domestic terrorist is. But I'm going to go out on a limb and say this white dude that worked for the VA that was legally carrying his gun, that got tackled to the ground after the officers pepper sprayed the chick and he tried to help her. Now he's on the ground getting disarmed and they shoot him in the back like 20 times. To me, I'm like, I would argue that's not a domestic terrorist.
Right. Well,
if he was a domestic terrorist, he would have rolled up their guns ablazing,
right,
proven his point that he's a domestic terrorist. And I get they all come in all shapes and colors and sizes.
All the times.
Right.
But we get in this really dangerous category where if they look and sound like us, then we're more likely, like it happened across the country. There were several attacks on power grids. Yeah. Power stations. It happened in Idaho. It happened in, I don't want to say the wrong state. I think it was South Carolina. It was on the East Coast somewhere. And they called it vandalism. Now, these were militant, anti-government extremists who were attacking the power grid.
That's a domestic terrorist.
And they called them vandals. And it drove me bonkers. Mm-hmm. But then I sit here and I talk about this. And I'm someone who, like I said, I have seen firsthand what it takes to serve this country, because I have lost I have sat and watched someone be deployed and watched somebody else come home. Yep. I've had my life saved by our law enforcement. Sure. I know what it's like to count the seconds and wonder if you're going to be alive when they make it to you, and have that kind of gratitude. But then if I talk about what I am very, very concerned is a gross overreach of authority and power, and then it's really easy to label me as anti-American or anti-law enforcement. Mm-hmm. And the funniest part is the policies that I put in place are actually proven to keep our law enforcement safer. Yeah. They increase community trust with local law enforcement. They decrease the amount of dangerous situations. Like, obviously, law enforcement, I think it's 60% of the situations that we lose law enforcement personnel on are actually domestic violence calls. Yep. And so it's like, we can address these problems. I want to protect our local law enforcement, but I also want to protect our constitutional rights. It becomes such a slippery slope when they see you on social media They don't like what you're saying. Like, they put out a memo if it's anti-capitalist. Well, they might call me an anti-capitalist for going after the monopolized corporate industries.
Yeah.
They call me a socialist. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. No, like, I'm trying to bring competition back. It becomes so easy.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the
Especially
reasons
when the government is the ones, and they're the ones spewing these specific words and terms and titles.
Right.
And they're using them. That's why domestic terrorists, I mean, when they're like, he's a, Chrissy Gnomes or whatever, reading her, this domestic terrorist. And that, I was like.
And that was moments after, without any investigation.
Zero investigation. There wasn't even a photo of this dude out yet. They might have had one, and they're already calling him a domestic terrorist. Now, if they come to us and they're like, we've got his phone records, we have Google searches and his computer logs, we've seized everything, and he's been searching. He wrote a letter to his parents. He was going to take out as many ICE. I'd be like, hard to argue.
Yeah.
But when you're on your hands and knees and a cop pulls your gun off you and 5 other cops shoot you, like, how is that labeled a domestic terrorist?
I blame elected officials, because here's the thing.
Yes, they're the ones stirring this.
Every single person who heard this plan to hire 12,000 agents, to rush them through training, they're not even being vetted. We're throwing 6-figure salaries with $50,000 signing bonuses onto men where we don't know their background. There have been so many that have been caught with a criminal background that they caught after they had already been put into training. Like, any single rational adult in the room could have told you that this would result in the loss of life, that this would result in constitutional overreach.
Somebody had to have along the way.
And I want to hold our government that accountable. I mean, he was recording. That's constitutionally protected. You know, he was carrying. He was constitutionally protected. Like, there are all of these things that I think Idahoan conservative voters and myself all have in common. And it's really being able to have these thorough conversations where we start seeing each other as individuals and not as whatever social media fringe that we've been so geared up to be angry at. Yeah. Because everybody, there's culpability on all fronts.
For sure.
Everybody who's in a position of power right now has culpability in this. Christy Gnome, I will never, ever be able to forgive them releasing doctored and manipulated video footage. We know that for a fact.
Which were for when?
Renee Good. When they released that one angle, so there was like 6 or 7 different angles. They took that one angle and they actually sped it up. So it looked as if she had turned and hit that officer faster, and then they cut it just before he stepped off. And then they just released an AI doctored photograph of a black woman, a protester who was being released from custody. And they AI generated it to make it look like she was sobbing and crying when she was calm and just walking out of the building. So these are aspects, and I don't care whether you're Republican or Democrat or independent, this is the kind of nonsense happening in government that we're allowing. And I want to rip it all out. I want to get rid of all of it.
Lie about one thing, you can't be trusted. It's like if our government is willing to lie and photo doctor evidence that's going out on the news, once you do that, done. Your credibility is done. Like, why? If you're covering things, you're AI changing things, you're pushing a narrative, you're trying to cover things up, you're trying to hide. There's so many reasons of why. Guess what's the best option? The truth. If you mess up, hey, this agent is going to be held accountable.
Yes.
Hey, this person, now that we have the evidence. So the whole good thing, that I'm right in the middle of that one as well, because that's a whole, we don't even need to get into that since we're going to.
Well, and here's what I'll say. If I was in this situation when Trump first took office and we had this situation at the southern border, I would have worked with Mexico to increase their investment into border technology. Mm-hmm. That means that, yes, 100%, we invest. We send way more people back from the border. We're not accepting every applicant. We have thorough vetting. We are increasing the number of staff in immigration courts, judges, attorneys, border agents. Yes, we want to incentivize border agents, specifically in towns where we struggle to get people, because it's really hard to get a guy who has a family down to this tiny little border town. So yes, we need to address that. Yeah. And yes, we can look for undocumented peoples. And what I would have done is we had this huge blockade that was not allowing local law enforcement to work with federal DHS on getting people who were criminals, undocumented people who had committed crimes. They weren't able to then move them to DHS. They weren't allowed to act on that. And there were ways where we could streamline that.
See, like if you're a cop and if you're illegal and you get pulled over, you get a ticket. Any violation in our country as an illegal immigrant, gone. Immediate. You get a DUI, speeding ticket. Guess what? If you're here illegally, you better be walking the line.
Local law enforcement should be able to work with DHS and handle that. And that could have been streamlined.
You show up to a domestic violence call and this guy's drunk, beating the shit out of his wife. He's an illegal. Gone. You're coming with us.
Gone. And here's where I get even angrier, because at the time before they did this, there was a piece of legislation, the Farm Workforce Modernization Act, that was streamlining migrant visas for those working in our state who were currently undocumented. And of course, they never brought it out of committee. They didn't vote on it. They did nothing. Instead, they funneled billions and billions of dollars into agents with no training. And now we've got this giant mess. Yeah. And we have 2 American citizens who are in the street dead. Yep. And it hasn't really brought any law and order. So there were ways to address these problems. And that's what happens when we divide this country and all of a sudden we're no longer people, but we're enemies based on whatever label or social media rhetoric. Then we can't have these kind of productive conversations and really look at where these causes are and these systemic problems are and how we actually not just fix the problem. I want to innovate the best possible future. Like, that's what used to make America great to me.
We have the ability to do
We were constantly on the frontier. We were innovating the best in the tech world, in medicine, in space, in our economy, that's what made us great. Mm-hmm. And we lost that somewhere around the way. And now it's just like trying to put out fires and trying to keep us from being at the bottom. Like, it doesn't matter if you're spending $35,000 a year on top of whatever your health insurance premiums are. You still can't get whatever prescription you need because your insurance company decided they weren't going to let the doctor write. Like, it's just a nightmare. Yeah. And so I don't want to just put out fires. I actually want to create and legislate like the America we can all be proud of again. And I think that's something. Yeah.
I'm with you. So where do you go? Okay. I guess one of my last questions, we'll wrap this up. Where do we go from here as America? Where do we go? How do we vote? Everybody's owned by AIPAC. Our own politicians are Israel first. Where do we go from here? How do we make a difference as America? You being some Democratic politician sitting in my studio.
Wild, right?
That is wild chaos by itself. Where do we go from here? Because I'm not voting for Trump. I'm not voting for Vance. Definitely not J.D. Vance. He is not getting my vote because we all know he's been groomed and paid for already. But then you have Kamala Harris that was just placed in that position, and we're having no King's protests, even though they're supporting her, and then she was put there. Like, it's just crazy. It's like the Hunger Games, right?
Yeah.
Where do we go as a Democrat sitting in here having this great conversation with me? We didn't even get in one argument. Imagine that. Where do we go from here as a country? How do we vote? What do we look for?
I would say there are a couple of things. We should only be looking to social media for information on how we can get involved in our community in person. Okay. So I use social media to share my events, to share opportunities, to share volunteer, like different ways. But we have got to stop understanding the world through social media and start understanding it in person.
Absolutely.
That means being able to have these difficult conversations and dropping these assumptions we have instead of being like, because we're so geared up. And it is frustrating because you see something online that makes no sense and you define that to the person that says they're a Democrat or says they're a Republican. And so here's the thing, everybody's angry. Mm-hmm. On both sides, right or left. And that's something I've recognized. And everybody's anger is righteous. Mm-hmm. Everybody who is angry in this state, right or left, has a very valid reason to be angry. So I validate that emotion and I understand why they're angry and then I try and fix it for them. Yeah. But we have to understand we're not angry at each other. We're angry at these problems and we can't hold each other accountable for those. So we need to start seeing each other as neighbors and community members who are all in this together to start having these discussions and understand and come to some common ground. And then we need to start making politics something that's about community building. Like no more stuffy fundraisers or galas. Like I want to have ice cream socials and I want to have sourdough meetups. And yes. I want to start having it's so funny because I was on the forefront of rural progressive organizing. Like I'm on the forefront of how we talk in rural spaces, how we organize in rural spaces. And the number one thing I tell everybody, stop hosting town halls and start hosting pubs. Like, have a get together at the local pub.
Well,
and it was amazing because I went from town halls where everyone was over 65 years old. Yeah. And I started hosting them at the local pub. And all of a sudden, everybody was 19 to 35. I had millennial families. I had people who kind of sat in the corner, just listened to see if they were comfortable. And then all of a sudden jumped in. We just have to make it so it's casual. And it's about getting to know each other and building community together and make it something positive.
I feel that's where we have gotten so far away in this country is the community. Neighbors don't know neighbors anymore. We're so divided. And as long as they have us fighting in the streets, which they do, we watch it every day, they just sit on this throne and they just laugh at us because it's working. We're not releasing the Epstein files. We're hiding this. We're pushing this through while we're all worrying about some woman running over an ice age. Like it's this giant game, and we're so bought into it. And it's like, that's where it's like, okay, I just want to listen to somebody that is real, that stands behind their word for once. And I think that's where our politicians are going to have to change because we're over it. And what's crazy to me is like, we should all be able to come. I should be able to come to your rally in a pub and be like, hey, like, I got a question, and not get crucified and cussed out of a place, and vice versa over a Democrat walking into a Republican event and like, hey, I got these questions, not standing up and screaming and being an asshole and immature and acting like some just, I want to say liberal, but that was just natural for me to come out.
And I would say.
yeah, right. And so, but it's just like, that's where we're at now. And so I'm with you. And this is why I wanted to have this conversation, because like, I feel if more people just sat and talked and just heard it out, doesn't mean we have to agree on everything.
No.
Does not mean we have to sit here and you need to back this. And that's the greatest part about this country is you have the freedom to be able to do and vote however you want. But as a country, we need to start coming together and wake up and realize we're all pawns. We're working at these like human battery cells, and all we're doing is just providing to the rich, and we're fighting in the streets. It's like getting two ant nests and throwing them together and sitting back and watching. That's who we are right now, and it's sad to watch. So I really appreciate this conversation. Yeah. I didn't know where it was going to go. I'm glad we did not get into any fights, but this shows that we can have these conversations, and it's like, it's possible. And that was a big thing. And I told my wife, I'm like, she's a Democrat. My wife was like, what is your angle? I'm like, I'm just gonna let her talk. Like, that's it. But I'm not that anymore. I'm not the MAGA dude. Like, I can't be, because I look at that, but then I look at the far left and I'm like, hey, how? And I personally feel, wrapping it up on this, I personally feel there is a huge majority of people in this country that are on both sides that are sitting here right now like, man, my party's gone too much, because that's all we're seeing is that shit 10 to 15% that represents MAGA, right? Represents Antifa and the far left. That's all we're seeing. But I feel like there's this huge demographic of liberals, Democrats in this country are like, man, this has gone a little too far. Like, I'm not supporting this. And I feel there's a huge chunk on the right that are like, he promised all this and we're all lied to. And this is that now there's no denying that everybody's lying to us. It's like, okay, put all your differences aside. We're going to put all our differences aside. What we've been brainwashed to believe and hate. Let's just have conversations. And I think that's going to be the future of this country if we want to keep it to where it's going to be going in the right direction, instead of us just being these empty robots that are just providing to the elites of this world.
100%. And just to remember that if we're seeing it online or through the news, it's because it's such a crazy story. It'll keep us hooked. And I try to tell my community members, don't expect your neighbor to have to answer for whatever. When you're talking to the people in your community about the issues, share what you're experiencing. Make it personal. Like, your neighbor isn't responsible for, the cost of groceries or gas or, but you may be experiencing the same issues at the local. Like, talk about what you're experiencing, share that story, because the truth is every working class person in the state of Idaho has so much more in common than they realize, but they're so busy talking about this big national issue or abstract issue or something that Idaho citizens aren't responsible. They have no control over. Yeah. And yet we're arguing with each other when those who are responsible for all of it get away scot-free. Yep. And I want us to be able to build those bridges. And like I said, like I am incredibly lucky that I love the work that I do. And I can't tell you, I have more Trump supporters donating to my campaign than I think any Democrat in the history of the Democratic Party.
Well,
it's a running joke.
That's great. Good for you.
Yeah, because it is. It's literally just being able to get over that initial, like proving that I am not, and it's being able to build those relationships and prove yourself. It took me a good 2.5 years with the unions, because the unions are so used to politicians running for office and going in and being like, I'm going to be labor, and then they get on the ballot and then they're gone. Everybody. You know what I mean? Like we have to be in these communities doing the work alongside them and building that trust and relationship, and just looking past the party, because it doesn't define us. I mean, every single person I've met, no matter right or left, are these incredible people with these incredible histories and stories that I really love working with. And that's where I feel like the luckiest person in the world, because it reminds me about what's great about Idaho, where you never met a stranger. And I feel like I get out there. Last story. The first time I went to Riggins, I couldn't find anybody there to organize with. Okay. And so on a Sunday night at the end of a campaign trip, I walked into the Seven Devils Saloon on a Sunday night where all the locals go to hang out. Yep. And I walked down, I was like, I'm a Democrat running for Congress. Will you guys tell me what's going on here? What's up? What's happening locally?
Shit.
Oh my gosh. It was one of the few times I had somebody traveling with me. So I was like, okay to have a drink. I had to taste test like 4 different whiskeys. But we ended up having the most amazing conversations. And it was just being able to get over that initial discomfort and that initial response and being able to get to know each other again. And working class people in this country are tired.
Tired, yeah.
We're tired and we're isolated, and we're usually too tired to get involved in the ways that we used to be, where we would find that kind of fellowship.
Yeah, you're just doing everything you can to keep the lights on, your kids fed.
So if you're looking for the right people to vote for, look for the people who are showing up and who show you that we should be
real.
Yes, and setting that standard.
Yep.
And I, like I said, I love my job. And also, I really like getting to hold corrupt people account. Like, I feel like I get to kind of be the hammer of justice.
I support that.
And I'm in.
I support that. That alone is enough. If a politician, like, I'm going after everybody, I'd be like, well, I don't even care who you are. Yes. Like
I may be 5'3", but boy, I can bring down systems of corruption like none other.
Well, I'm going to be watching. So I genuinely appreciate this conversation. This was great. I hope our audience can listen and be like, holy shit, okay, maybe we're just seeing the both extremes. Everything on social we're seeing is just the extremes of both sides. We all need to learn to just, as the people, not the politicians, as the people, we need to start just talking and having these conversations and realizing like, oh shit, you are a Democrat. Wow, you don't believe in, well, me too. Oh, wow, who would have thought? I really don't agree with you here, but hey, that's your thought. That's your belief. So that's, I hope this country, I hope it's you guys and the generation under that can start turning us around, because God knows I have way too many skeletons in my closet to ever learn anything. So I'm going to be a podcaster.
Well, I feel like I'm the one that getting the most out of this conversation, because I get to walk away with Asiago bread. So
Today you do.
But yeah, good. And yeah, the thing is also politics feels like this big outwardly thing. Like anybody who sees this conversation, I want them to know, like they can reach out to me. Like I will.
How do we get a hold of you?
I'm the only Kaylee running for Congress ever in America. So all of like the social media, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, all goes directly to me. Cool. Even my email is kayleeforcongress@gmail.com, all spelled out. Like if I will come hear you out, like even if you are full hardcore MAGA, you're just not happy with Idaho's leader, like I will come hear you out, even if that means you won't vote for me. Like I want us to have these conversations, because we got to start somewhere.
Yeah, with that. That's it. We got to start somewhere. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
I appreciate you. This is great. That went perfect. I love it.
Yeah, that was.
What were your thoughts coming into this? Did you?
Honestly, I was excited. One, because I